to another episode of the internet's most hated mafia-themed geek podcast, the Long Coat Mafia Podcast. It is I, the Reverend Godfather, the show's main host and front man. And this week, Big Candy returns via Skype. That's right, via Skype. I know a lot of you may not like it, but at least these Skype episodes are in true stereo. And he's going to sound a little bit funky because he wanted to do hands-free. So we kind of had a good time with that. You got to hear it. I just want to let a lot of you know that you're going to hear a couple of clips taken out of this. It's because we had a little bit of an issue with Skype and Big Candy getting a couple of calls through, so that was taken out. So other than that, there were no cuts. I think maybe about a minute was cut out. But still, it's over 3 hours of great, awesome content. We had a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. You gotta hear it. So
we'll be right back with more of the Long Coat Mafia Podcast.
Do you or someone you know struggle through life with anxiety-related mental disorders? Ever get that feeling that you are one of the few? I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. Take a journey with me as I talk about key points in my past and how they may have led to me being diagnosed with anxiety and panic disorder. After which, we will talk about different ways to tone down the anxiety and maybe even beat it together on Anxinity. The easiest way to remember the name is by thinking about how one searches for a state of zen in the midst of the anxieties of life. My name is Gerald, and I'm the host of Anxinity.
hey folks, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a promo that we have. It was sort of a kind of a podcast promo for promo deal with folks at rent your lips, folks. This is what happens when you've been drinking a little bit of rum prior to the show. But with Conspired Pod, they knew a couple of guys or they themselves were trying something new. This was their promo for that, so I hope you enjoyed it and check them out. Conspired Pod does do some great work, and then I hope with this particular podcast that they're doing or that they wanted us to promote are great, and so check them out. With me kind of talking in a trash can a little bit because of circumstances is the one, the only, Big Candy.
And if things keep going the way that I've planned, you're talking to the next governor of Virginia.
Oh, dear God. Yeah, I've been hearing about that. That's a bunch of crazy. Let me put it like this. How would you feel about me titling this The Coast to Coast Call?
Yeah, it sounds like a coast-to-coast call, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're here. They're everywhere. They're not what you think they are.
I will title that like The Coast to Coast Call. See how many people wired. I'll put in that in the tag too. Coast to Coast AM. Just to see how many people it'll filter in just to listen. Like I didn't.
Not what they claim to be. Yep. And then the power goes up. Are we back on?
Are we back on?
So yeah.
Coast to Coast. So.
Yes.
Kind of first off, to catch up, how have you been? It's been a while since you were kind of on the air with us in one shape or form or another. So, how have you been doing?
Well, I've been learning to code.
Code what?
Oh, you don't get that reference yet, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, we'll talk about it later on. Yeah, I just been doing the thing, nothing much, just hanging in there. Having eBay trouble right now, but I digress.
You digress.
Yeah, people are foolish and like to waste your time. Selling baseball cards is no easy task anymore.
I gotta stay away from eBay. I'm broke, and I like to window shop on eBay, and that's not healthy.
Right.
It's like let's look at all this stuff I cannot buy.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, why am I looking at stuff that's $300 and up?
Well, the worst thing is as a seller, and this is where I get in trouble. Like, I hate PayPal. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I absolutely hate PayPal. And they do silly things like hold your money for no reason. And if you try to find out what the reason is, they tell you, well, there could be factors about your eBay account that are sketchy at the moment. And I'm looking at my account, and there's nothing sketchy, nothing weird going on. I haven't done any purchasing at all, that would be construed as weird or out of character. But they decided they were just going to hold my money for an insane amount of time. Since the 31st of January, they've been holding my money.
Wow.
So it just, and I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of done with it.
So that's one of the things I helped on eBay a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago, depending on how I want to look at it. And I just went into the whole aspect. I wonder how production cells are doing right now. And it was Donnie Drum. Folks, I know you don't know that name, but he does a lot of costumes for conventions, like horror costumes for cosplayers, I think. Just to give him a shout out, he does great work. He goes to a lot of the 4-state events, and he goes to one or two different horror conventions as well. This is just to give him a polite shout out, and he posted up I forgot what it was. It was I think a Justice League cell that he found on eBay, and when I looked it up, it was going for about $300, $400, and I was like, yeah, that looks about right. And when just scrolling through that list of searching of relevant cells, everything's gone up over. That collector's market is definitely in an upswing right now with prices. Because a couple of the I know back in, I think it was 2000. Yeah, it was when I last went to AwesomeCon. It was 2016. I got a Batman Beyond cell for about $80. Now they're all from $100 on up, if not $200. So
well, I mean, you can imagine, because as I would guess, a lot of animation probably isn't being done traditionally anymore, is it? Are they still doing it the way they used to, or is it all digital now?
It's mostly digital, but
so, I'm guessing it's really scarce if you can get the actual animation cells. Yeah.
Again, I want to say that all depends on the show, because then again, I could say, if you look at He-Man and She-Ra and even the real Ghostbusters, you could find that stuff for about $15, $20 at the most.
Yeah, but they're not. Well, they're not in production anymore. But it all depends on the popularity of the shows. Also, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, you'd think too. It's like. But then you can understand He-Man, because it's not really that popular.
Well, no, I mean, stuff like that has their swings in and out. Like, Ghostbusters will be hot for, a couple of months if there's rumors of a new movie or, whatever, and then it'll die back down.
But the thing is, with the rumors of... Sorry to interrupt you, but it's like with the rumors of the one coming out next year in 2020, you'd think that would be a hot commodity, but it's not. It's barely scratching the surface.
Why?
When you can get stuff for $20, that's great to get a jump into the market, but the thing is, it's the stuff that's like Justice League and even Thundercats is going up for some strange reason. Some of the, I think with that, it might be a little bit harder to find. I don't know why, because it's more recent, I think.
Right.
And it's because it's more recent, I think more people are realizing that it's a collector's item, and the aspect of it being fewer and fewer going out into market, it's what's being driving the prices up, and more people are keeping their hands on what they got.
You might think that, like, I don't know, I guess it might depend on who the collectors are, too, because if you're talking about, like, the real Ghostbusters, that was, what, 1990?
No, that was, like, mid-'80s, mid to late 80s.
Was it mid-'80s?
Yeah, mid to late 80s.
I thought it was, like, later than that. I thought it was, like, 91.
It might have ended in roughly 91.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I mean, you're looking at, like, a demographic of kids that, like, or it'd be people like our age, like in their 40s, that would be after stuff like that. And it all depends on, like, were they huge Ghostbuster fans and do they collect that cell art. So I guess that's why the price would be down. But I mean, Thundercats is, didn't they make a new show of that a few years ago?
They made a reboot in like 2010, 2011-ish, and it lasted 2 seasons, and they just rebooted again recently, and which is the crappy reboot, which everybody kind of, I think, hates, because it's I'll say various reasons. Is
there any talk of a movie still with Thundercats, or is it all?
It kind of goes away, comes back, goes away, comes back. It all depends on who you talk to. Some people still believe that there was one made many, many years ago, and it was just sitting on a shelf somewhere. Kind of like the original Fantastic Four. It's just sitting on a shelf somewhere, and no one has seen the copy ever. So
I've seen it. I wish I didn't.
I don't mean the Fantastic Four one. I mean the Thundercats one.
Oh, I'm talking about the Fantastic Four.
But
anyway, so that's good that production sales are going up. I always thought that was like one of the better collectible markets for like geek culture stuff. I mean, as far as like affordability and actual, having something from an actual show, it's almost like a prop and a piece of art all in the same thing. It's actually really nice.
Yeah, you gotta. I did a quick search on eBay. Superman, the animated series, the one that I'm looking at right now, is $450. It's of Supergirl from the show. It looks more like a JLA piece, but
right.
I'm looking at He-Man and the Master of the Universe cell. It's $35. Avion Flux, which is obscure, that's $50. There's a X-Men from the 90s. The 90s X-Men cartoon going for about $30. So,
Really?
Yeah, and granted that one has 6 days left, but.
Well, I mean, also I would guess that like the composition would matter a lot in those. So like who are in the He-Man and the X-Men and the Aeon Flux cells. Like what's the subject matter?
Let's see, the X-Men cell is Cyclops. Let me go back. Oh,
If it was Wolverine, it'd be more.
Let's see. Because it had to. I hate when my phone does this. That is, it delays going back one, and all of a sudden, let's see, the Avion Flux. Who's on it? The main character is in it, but it's a distance away, so I can understand why that's about $47. Let's see here. Let me put it like this: you mentioned, because you had mentioned Wolverine. The one, there's an X-Men the animation series Wolverine production cell, $40.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so strange. Is it a real production cell or is it?
These are real production cells.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just strange. That's strange to me because anything with Wolverine tied to it tends to be like, especially a original art, which technically that really is original art, is usually like in the hundreds of dollars.
Right, but here's the ironic thing. There's a Thundar the Barbarian animation cell, $300.
It's Hanna-Barbera, though.
Right.
So.
But there's an Aristocrats, the Disney movie, $89. And usually those things go for no matter what it is. It's Disney, and it's thousands upon thousands of dollars. But I want to say this. Let me say this. When I went to MGM theme park, this was like 20-some odd years ago, they had a section that kind of redoes cells, production cells to buy a souvenir, so I don't know if that's actually like a souvenir cell or not.
Right. See, that's what I wonder, if like some of those are souvenir cells or if they're actual original art production cells.
If it's Disney, I want to say it's a souvenir cell.
Right.
But it's weird. It's confusing. I mean, I consider when it comes to animation cells, even though I'm low income, like something that's $40 or $20, that's relatively cheap. But there's also, I see one here that's a Johnny Bravo cell that's going for $725.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So,
to me, that sounds like a lot, for a cell, but I don't know.
But then again,
it's going for or it's sold for.
Right now, and this looks like, it's a certificate author, meaning that it's from Warner Brothers themselves, which means they have all their stuff, and they're just like, why are we having this? Let's put a certificate of authenticity on it and sell it. So somebody must have got it for $600, and they're selling it for a couple $100.
Yeah.
So, and now it's weird. The collectible market for it is extremely weird, and it's one of the few things that I've seen just immediately go up and down, up and down. It's there. It's an easy hobby to get into, and it can be a very expensive hobby as well. That's why I was very happy to get to the 2 Thundercat cells I did 2 years ago fairly cheap, because they were up to like $600 for anything, especially anything with T'Challa in it was up to like $600. Then it went down to like $200. Now it's probably back up to maybe $300 or $400, if not more.
Now, I wonder if with the production cells for TV shows, like in the instance of like, say, if it's from the show, like from somewhere in one of the episodes, it probably isn't worth a whole lot. But if it's from like the intro, like when they're playing the music and doing all the intro stuff, I bet you dollars to donuts, it's worth a hell of a lot more money.
That's the thing. It's so weird. Sometimes part of me wants to say yes, and there's another part of me that says no, not really.
Really?
Because I've seen.
I would figure because if it's from the intro, that it's the oldest of the pieces. Just taking a chance on that, and that like it's more iconic. Because like, okay, let's just say Thundercats. Like the one image that comes to mind with Thundercats, like from the original intro, is where he's like got the sword out in front of him. He's all buffed out, and there's like lightning hitting it. And he's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like if there was a cell of that shot, I'm willing to bet you that that's worth like buku dollars, because that to me that's iconic. In terms of that show.
Let's do a search. eBay, let us see. There is, that's reasonably cheap. None of the intro shots that I'm seeing, or, there's only, about, I want to say, a dozen. I don't think any of them are from the title sequence. but the most expensive I've seen is $500, and it's for Panthro, and it's not even from the intro.
Really?
Yeah.
That's strange.
And the one I have with Chitara in it, it has Panthro. The one that's $500 is Tigra, and the one I have has Panthro, Tigra, and Chitara in it, and I got that one for like $250. And
Yeah.
the other one, which is similar to the one that they're selling here, is $160, and that's about what I paid for that one as well. So,
Wow. Now, okay, here's another thing. What's the difference between, like, say, American cartoon art and, like, Japanese anime art? Like, say, Dragon Ball Z original art. Like, is that way more?
I want to say yes and no, because I've seen cheap anime art, but then again, I guess it all depends on what you're looking for, because I've seen, like, Vampire Hunter D stuff,
Yeah.
like $600 minimum.
Yeah, well, that's what I would want. Like, if I got anything, I would get something Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, something like that.
Let's go with, let's see here, Dragon,
Or,
Dragon.
all the classics. That's all the stuff I'm ever interested in. I like some of the new stuff, but I'm like, yeah. But then again, I wouldn't get like a Robotech or a Macross or anything like that.
Let's see. The cheapest I see is for about $100, and the most expensive is $800 that I see right now. No, sorry, $1,000, and it's on. The description says Dragon Ball Z Son Goku Original Production Cell. And it's when he's going to go in Super Saiyan, so that's $1,000. So it's again wide range, and for that price, there's some, like there's a Piccolo face up one for $250, but I might recommend folks listening that you always ask the seller in regards to the cells, because there are there's a difference between production cells and meaning what they did for Star Trek, the not Next Generation, the animated series. There's production cells, and there's what's called stereo cells. I'm mispronouncing it, I know, which is just a recreation of a particular scene. It doesn't have like the punch holes on the bottom. It's just on a piece of plastic,
Right.
and it's just that's what it is. It's to make it look like a production cell, but it's not. So, not to mention, a lot of there's a good percentage of eBay sellers that sell the production drawings. And to explain that is, before anything is done on the official plastic, it's drawn first on a piece of paper. And what a lot of the sellers do to keep making money is they take that production drawing to a Staples or a place that has a photocopy, and they just make a shit ton of photocopies, and they just sell that shit for $30-$40.
Right, yeah, of course.
And people eat it up. And
Well, yeah, I mean, if you own it, then you can do whatever you want.
right, so I'm sure that please, in this type of situation,
As long as it's an accurate description, as long as they're saying that it is what it is, a copy and not an original, I got no problem with people doing that.
the reason why I say that is because many years ago, we'll talk about it probably a little bit later in the show, is I was on the hunt for Battle Angel Alita production cells.
Oh yeah.
Because back in
irrelevant, dude.
because back in the early 2000s, it was still obscure and not many people knew about it. So I figured,
All right,
you know,
all right, hipster, you were the first one to see it. Okay.
yeah, yeah, I'm a hipster. I figured, you know, what it'd be great to have production art or something from it. And one seller was just selling photocopies, and he just said production art.
Right.
He never said copies. And if I didn't ask first, I would never have known. So, and I would have been ripped off.
It was like we said at that last convention that we were at. That guy was selling copies.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean about the Superman thing?
I think so. I don't remember what it was, but I remember we said that there was a guy and he was selling like copies of original art and stuff at his booth.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
God damn it. I'm Poe. I would have to ask for this because I just did a search for Battle Angel on eBay. Someone has looks like the original art. I would ask first, and it looks like from the photos. It looks like the original art, production art, and it's $1,000 plus shipping. I'm just going to say $1,000 because it's $999.99. $1,000.
$1,000.
Plus $15 shipping and handling.
Really? They're going to charge shipping? What a bunch of buttholes.
And it's coming from, and this person has 100% feedback, and it's coming from California. So, well, it does look amazing, and the person looks like it's a very reputable. Let's see, you're bidding on an original, one-of-a-kind anime cell from Battle Angel Alita. Yeah, this is an actual cell, and it's coming from California, so this is something to be had. And if I had the spending cash, I'm not talking tax refund spending cash, I would definitely pick this up and mount it on the wall. But it's something to be had. It's having that level. It's like I want it so bad. But let us get out of this topic for a minute, because you did mention a little bit of weirdness and goes along with the announcement that I would like to make, and that is probably within the next week or two, we'll be getting in touch with David Benoit.
Daniel.
I knew I was close. At least it was a D. At least it was a D. At least it was a D. At least it wasn't like Ben or Frank or Zach or something like that. It was a D. It was close. Daniel Benoit, who's doing the Bigfoot show this June.
Yeah.
In just I think outside of Winchester.
No, it's a little bit further than that. It's down in Waynesboro, Virginia.
You almost said Pennsylvania.
I know. It's in Waynesboro, Virginia, which is down past Harrisonburg. So it's down the road a piece. But it's the ECBRO, which I think is East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization, and they're doing their annual Bigfoot, convention. So I've seen the ads for it because Matt was talking about it. Matt Burns, friend of the show, and he was talking about because the Bigfoot movie that the Reverend Godfather played a small part in, and Matt Burns was also in, is going to be doing some tabling down there for their production. And I was just talking to the guy because I was thinking about sponsorships, because the guy he was looking for sponsorships, and I said, well, maybe if like the sponsorships are cheap enough, I could gather up some cash and just get our name on something, get the name of the podcast on something at the Bigfoot convention. And then I got to talking to the guy, and he said he wanted us to come down there and we could cover it. So, and he's going to be on the show to do interviews, and he's a real nice guy from what I've heard on the internet, seeing him doing his YouTube or his Bigfoot facts or tips of the day or whatever he does every day. Real down to earth guy. I think he'll be a good guest on the show, and I think it'll be a good show.
Weird feeling, ain't it?
What's that?
The reason why I say that is that it reminds me of what happened with Paracon. Just talking with in essence the fellow, and they're like, yeah, we don't mind you in. I'll just set. Now it's a different scenario. We'll just be covering it. But with Paracon, it's like, yeah, why don't you just set up and just cover the show too? I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, what?
It's just that, like, yeah, we wouldn't mind you covering the show. And I get to. That also means we get to bug Matt about. We get to rib Matt. He's got a panel. We got a panel. It's like, how's it feel to be on that table up there, huh?
You like it?
Not so easy being on that side of the table, is it?
You so and so.
You got to figure, every con he's done, we've bugged him about something.
Right. We always bug him, man.
Right.
We love Matt.
Yeah, we love Matt. And I got to say this. I want to thank, I know he doesn't really listen, but I want to thank him anyway, is his punk rock flea market is going to be literally not even a quarter of a mile from my house.
Oh, nice. Where's it going to be?
It's on Raleigh Street. It's, obviously, you know where Anthony's Pizza is.
Right.
It's like 3 blocks down from that.
Oh, sweet.
So, and because I helped him out last year, I got a free table.
You're back again. Oh,
I'm back again. Oh, yeah. And...
yeah, Sue's back.
Back again. So, I'll be covering that, and Sin City Gamblers is going to be at that show.
Sin City Gamblers?
Yeah, I thought they went defunct. Yeah, I was shocked to hear that news. I'm like, when he announced that, it's like, Sin City Gamblers, I was like, I haven't heard them since I was going to Dung Beetles back all those years ago. And,
Lord.
And I was like, this should be a treat to hear how they might have changed or what's new and everything. Because
I wonder if Cat Mills, he was in that band. I wonder if his new band's going to be there.
So it'll be fun to see what's going on.
I've been getting on Tat because his new band, he made buttons, and I think he made stickers, and I think he made a T-shirt so far for the new band, but they haven't put out any music yet. I was like, Tat, that's great that you have merch, but what do you sound like? So I don't know. I think I forget the name. Something. I don't know. Whatever. Hopefully they'll be there too.
Who knows? Cause some. I won't say cause trouble. I don't want to do that in regards to Matt, but I want to cause trouble in a good way. Try to get the.
Well, I mean, hopefully there's not going to be some overzealous barkeep that wants to shut it down because he's afraid.
No, the place that it's being done at is Let There Be Rock School. It's their new building.
Oh, okay.
So it's not going to be shut down. If it goes to 10 o'clock, it'll go to 10 o'clock. And knowing the dude, if it goes longer, it'll go longer.
Well, there you go.
So there is no chance of being shut down early. Pray to the punk rock gods that doesn't happen. I don't see it happening. But
all right, hold on. I'm going to pray to the punk rock gods. Dude.
Oh, great Saint Lemmy from the Motorheads.
So, fucking don't fucking shut it down or whatever.
Oh, dear Lemmy of Motorhead, please don't let this concert get shut down. Oh, boy.
Who would win in a fight between Lemmy and God?
Lemmy!
Trick question. Lemmy is God.
God. Yeah, the man that the doctor told him you gotta cut off the rum because it's bad for your health, so he switched to vodka.
What's that from? What's that from? That quote.
What book?
Come on. What's it
Which
from?
book?
What movie? 3, 2, 1. Airheads.
I saw Airheads, but not once, but not that often enough to remember a lot of stuff that went in it.
I feel you. That's a good one.
So,
Gotta love Airheads. So, how are you feeling about doing a Bigfoot convention?
doing a bit, considering last year we did, in essence, it was primarily ghosts. Even though we touched on last year, some of the panels we recorded touched on cryptids and the whatnot, but it was mostly ghosts. Switching from ghosts to Bigfoot, I'm just hoping we went from dead to something possibly living. Now, I'm hoping within the next.
I'll tell you the thing I like about Daniel Benoit, and it's that he is no nonsense when it comes to investigation. He's not one of those people that like are out there claiming anything that isn't true. He's not making up shit. Daniel Benoit is there. He'll tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you, and one of the only ones I've ever seen in that scene. They'll tell you there's no proof that Bigfoot exists. That's what he's searching for, though. So, I won't say it in his words, but the gist of what I've got from him is that, anybody who claims they know anything doesn't know shit. But what he does know, and from what I've gathered from what he's talked about, is he knows, there are stories, and he knows the characteristics of animals, and, how animals act, and, and he knows that there's a very good chance that this thing is real. So, I give it to him on that. I think that's great. He's not just trying to sell it like those TV shows do.
Yeah, and I take it from everything that he kind of puts out, and from what you're saying now, that if I tell him I might come off as the douchebag, but I'm coming off as an open-minded skeptic in reference to get the point across, he'll let me do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm being open-minded and to allow him to talk more about the topic. So
yeah, I think if you preface that too, I think that would probably work. Just tell him.
So that way the audience is in on it too.
I don't know shit going into this. Just let me say what I got to say, and then you can correct me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just like I said, hopefully within the next year, if the show's still going on next year, it's going to be aliens.
Right? Well, it would have been this year, but I didn't have any money. I was trying to go to AlienCon in Baltimore.
I think within the next year or two, it's going to be aliens. You watch. It's going to be aliens.
Giorgio Tsoukalos was there. I wanted to touch his hair. I was I wanted to be who does your hairstylist? It's aliens.
Alien.
But who else was there? Von Daniken, Eric Von Daniken, he was there. Oh my God, Cherry to the Gods. I want to talk to that guy. He sounded like he.
What I would pay to do if they were doing paid photo ops, the guy that did the whole aliens pose, I would have him do something like that, but parody I'm not supposed to be here today. like Dante. Am I supposed to be here today? Aliens.
Hey, speaking of aliens, have you checked out the Project Blue Book TV show on history?
No. Xbox Live does not have the history app. So
yeah, it's on Prime.
I have to get a Roku.
It's on Prime, so I've been downloading, finding the episodes every week. They're only $1.99, but it's actually a really good show. It's got that dude that played, what's his face on Game of Thrones? I can't remember his name. The chick slit his throat last season. So, He's on it, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty faithful to like the events that it tries to portray, as far as like, you know, the what people know about, you know, and it's got a good like understory, and it's like I think it's a pretty good show for, like, you know, being on the History Channel. I don't know what kind of production budgets they have, but I think it's actually a decent show.
And to think, right now, even though we're recording an episode, Daniel, this is ironic right now. I should hop in. I'll keep the phone on low and let me know. Wait a minute. They reduced the media down. I'll let him know he's recording a live stream right now. I'm going to type in it or not. I'm just letting him know that I'm recording our latest episode, and we were just talking about it.
Come Skype in while I'll talk. We'll have a three-way with Daniel Benoit.
Let's see.
Or something I actually might know.
Let's see. I'm just putting that.
Observations or whatever it may be.
No, I don't think he sees the chat.
Is he doing a live Facebook right now?
Yeah, he's doing a live Facebook.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's been a lot of fun doing it. It really has. They're short videos, so it's not going to take you long to go through them.
Yeah,
I actually have all of them.
BC, they'll probably give you a shout out.
So if you go on my YouTube channel, ECBRO, well, it's big for
I'll keep that low for a minute. I'll keep it up in my ear. That way we can continue. You said you had a few weird things to talk about too.
If you go to McDonald's and you order any sandwich that doesn't have lettuce and tomato on it, if you ask for lettuce and tomato and mayonnaise, they'll put it on it.
How is that weird?
Because nobody knows that.
If you have to ask for lettuce and tomatoes, and they'll put it on it.
When they'll put it on it, and it makes it so much better. No, I'm just really fascinated with that right now, because it's good. No, weird. What did I say that I had weird to talk about?
Christopher, believe it or not, I'm recording too, and was just talking about you. Awesome. Very awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that show, Chris. And
he says he's looking forward to doing the show, and
I believe we're going to try to work that out this coming week.
And he's looking forward to the coming this week and recording. And
project that's coming up. I got a lot to go.
He's awesome. He's like he kind of chuckles like when he saw it was all good.
And give you guys a heads up about what to expect.
Yeah, that was good. You gave a little bit of a shout out.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that. Hey, we were talk about. We were going to go talk about the Daniel Benoit thing, and I think you wanted to talk about the wrestling stuff.
Yeah. If you want to move on to the wrestling stuff, we can do that. Moving on up. Going big. Going big time. Kind of this week is.
I took the cold out of 2 Ryan.
And today, for those of us who follow our Facebook page, notice I've been posting a lot of wrestling news today. On our Facebook page is facebook.com/The Long Coat Mafia Podcast. I do suggest wandering over there, hitting that like button, and checking out what we have going on there. I have been posting more on that on our page because my hours now are different, which allows me to do that, which is good. And a lot of the stuff that's been going on today concerns the new wrestling organization that has been kind of forming, and that's the AEW. I forgot what it stands for. All Elite Wrestling.
All Elite Wrestling, is that right?
That's what I was about to say. All Elite Wrestling. I know it had. Let me just pull out the one article in regards to Cody Rhodes, what he had to say about it. I know it was earlier today. That's that. Oh, yep.
what was the big? I can't remember. I know I should be more up on this, but who was the financiers behind AEW? Was it? I mean, I know some big names.
I think Cody was one of them. Yeah, it was All Elite Wrestling. So
Yeah.
And one of the articles that I shared today was about how he didn't come out and say it, but Cody kind of hinted at that it's kind of to avenge that he kind of wants it to be the next WCW in reference to not how it was, but how it competed on the level with WWE. So hopefully,
because all the fans who are sick of WWE and their content, they could have like chickens fighting in the ring, and trust me, people would go over there and watch it because people don't like WWE that much. Personally, I like it. It's just something to watch. I don't go crazy about it. I don't lose my mind like some people, but the real big fans, there's a lot of people who are just sick of WWE and their content. So I think the fact that, and I'm not going to blow your load here, but the people who they've been signing lately, I'll let you talk about that, but the people that they've been signing lately and the people who they think they're going to sign, a lot of people will go over to it.
And the thing is, like I said, the article hints that Cody is saying that this is going to be like a revenge for what happened with WCW. No, the article states that Cody says that this WCW was the inspiration for AEW, and he hopes that it's on that level to compete with WWE. I hope so too. I wish him the best of luck. And as per the rumored signings, one person I heard was what's his name from the Shield, Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
Was rumored that when his contract is up, he's leaving WWE, and the rumor is that he's going to AEW. I heard
the other reason why is because he doesn't like the direction that they've taken his character, and that's a big problem with some of the people who work with WWE. Is like creative just kind of does whatever they want, and it's not really stuff that a lot of the wrestlers are into, and like so creatively they need to just step off with a lot of people, or they're going to lose a lot of people.
And it's not just that; it's some of it is the wrestlers not that they might get. We'll get into some of the other news too. Is that some of the wrestlers are kind of fed up that. I think, as you said, they're going nowhere in the company. Right. They might be mid-carders, or they had their. It's like WWE upper management said, "Oh yeah, you're going to be the next big thing," and they don't go anywhere. And here's this up-and-coming company that might give them that chance. So,
right.
The other person I heard rumored going to AEW is Randy Orton.
Yeah, and he's in the pipeline.
And because, from what I heard, it's rumored it's because he's done all he could in the WWE. What more can he do now?
Well, and so he's been maligned. Really, he's being like shoved onto the mid card right now, and he's a main eventer.
Right,
through and through. Randy Orton's a main eventer, and he should be. Because he brings a lot to the table. But what are they doing? They're shoving him in the mid-card matches. They're getting him involved in stuff like they had him wrestling a woman at Royal Rumble. I mean, come on, man. It's like that dude should be like going up against the best of the best. He should be with the title. I think it would be a really good move for him to. I think it'd be a really good move for him to go somewhere else.
Yeah, the other rumor person going to AEW. Now, this is it's not. This is as much as a rumor as whereas someone like Dean Ambrose or Randy Orton becoming those are almost like very close to actually happening. I'd say out of those rumors being true, I'd say 8 out of 10. On a 10 scale of actually being true. This one I want to say is more of a 6 out of 10 because it there's a slight chance it's more all talk. That is The Undertaker going to AEW. And because
I don't believe that for a second.
You don't believe it?
No.
Now here's the thing. I don't know if you saw what I put up on the page today or recently. He cut all ties. Now, here, folks at home, because has been part, notice those words, has been part of the WWE for so damn long, he actually owns the Undertaker name.
Right.
Which means with the WWE, for those who don't know, WWE, when they call you, let's say, the Rock or the Ultimate Warrior, they own. You could leave companies, but they own that name.
Yeah,
period.
like Dolph Ziggler does not own his name, Dolph Ziggler.
Right.
He's like Nick. He's like Nick something. I can't remember his real name. It's like Nick something. But he recently is on hiatus with the WWE. And when he's out, he's not allowed to.
Big Candy, you kind of dropped there for a moment. I don't know if you could still hear me. Yep, there you are. You kind of dropped for a moment.
Yeah, my phone was trying to get another phone call.
Folks, what Big Candy's pretty much telling. He kind of blanked out, so I'm going to fill in here until Big Candy comes back. Basically, if who's Big Candy? Who's the wrestler you were talking about? Because
we were talking about Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, Dolph Ziggler. Which means if another wrestler came in after he left, they could say, "Okay, you're Dolph Ziggler now," and it'd be perfectly legal because they own the name. They've done it with Doink.
Right. Yeah.
But Undertaker actually owns that name, and word has it recently on all of Undertaker's social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, he's dropped the WWE aspect from his name. Here is why. At Crown Jewel this past November, I think it was,
right,
he was not supposed to have a match at Crown Jewel. Vince McMahon forced him to do that match, and rumor has it him and Vince McMahon had a kind of a verbal tussle that he said, "I don't want to do this match, I don't want to be part of this pay-per-view." Vince said, you're doing it whether you like it or not. He did it, and he pretty much said, at the end of my contract, I'm not renewing. So this is what happened now. So whether or not he's going to AEW, I don't know.
I believe everything you just said, but I don't think he's going to go to another organization. I really don't. I mean, that whole Crown Jewel thing, to me, is a blemish on WWE, and like one that they really need to like think about if they want to continue doing, because with the women's division the way it is now, becoming so hot, and the fact that the women aren't allowed to wrestle when they're there, and all the stuff that goes beyond that, and just the way that the history of that country, and like at the time when they did Crown Jewel, there was that big hubbub about that journalist being murdered and basically getting covered up. And they went on with the show anyway, despite a lot of people asking them that, not to, that they probably should pull out. But what it was the Saudi government just waving a humongous check in front of Vince McMahon, the promoters or whoever it was, and he just said okay. All it is another thing to make him more rich, and I really don't think that it's a good look, but that's the way he wants to run his company. That doesn't mean that people like The Undertaker have to put up with it. So I'm guessing Undertaker just got his payday from that and called it a day.
Right, and the thing is, from what I heard in regards to, at least when Crown Jewel started, is that the biggest beef about it is that the Saudi government does not understand that, because from what I initially heard, this is back in 2017, they wanted people like to show up like The Undertaker and people that have either passed on or haven't been with the company ever, and they couldn't wrestle with the company because of health reasons. And they wanted those wrestlers to be a part of this pay-per-view. It's like they didn't understand they can't wrestle because they are either A, dead, or B, due to injury, can no longer wrestle. So, not to mention, as you said, like the WWE has been doing now is that they've been incorporating more and more women's matches, and they've been raising up the women's division a hell of a lot more over the past 10, 15 years. They can't do it with Crown Jewel because of the nature of the country and the laws that the country has in effect.
Well,
so
I think what the fans need to do, despite the fact that they're probably going to have another one or another two, because then they have two last year or something weird. It was like, I don't remember. But I think the fans need to just not watch it.
Right.
I didn't watch the one this year. I mean, it was on, and I watched highlights, but I didn't watch it. And I think the fans just don't need to log in and watch it. I think it needs to just play to an empty audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As far as in the States, because I don't want to support the Saudi government.
Right. And to kind of segue away from that into something different, to go on to what you said in regards to the Undertaker, you're right. He doesn't really need any additional funds. Folks at home, let me tell you why. Because I heard about this on Friday at work, because one of the guys I know, I don't know if he listens or not, he is a big wrestling fan. I think bigger than you. I think him and Bernie would have a great talk, because they, from what I'm told, both of them have been in the wrestling industry for at least anywhere from a couple of years to a couple of months. And the person I spoke to has a few insider connections from what he said, a few inside connections in the WWE, and he's the one that told me this information, which came out today that I saw. The Undertaker, his appearance fee is $25,000, not per day, per hour. You heard me right, folks. $25,000 per hour.
I don't doubt it.
And
it doesn't shock me.
And the thing is, you and I both know, and I agree with when my buddy told me this at work yesterday. He could show up for 1 hour at a show, and for that's if you have $25,000 to spend on him minimum just to get to show up. You have to understand there's going to be probably a guarantee fee on top of that, plus travel expenses. To think the guarantee fee for him to people would sell out that show instantly just to see the Undertaker for that hour.
Right.
You would have to cut that line off at a certain point.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's weird for that. It's like, hello, a poor network connection, reconnecting. Folks, I'm sorry for the delay. I don't know if Big Candy could hear me. That there is saying this is the first time, folks, that Skype is giving me this error on the new device in regards to reconnecting. There's a poor network connection, so we're going to try to stall in regards to this. I am bringing up our recording software, and I'm going to. Oh, you're back? Oh, he's back, everybody! Oh, dang nabbit! I'm going to have to call Big Candy back, and it's active now. Let's call him back. And he went from good audio. He's going back to sounding like caller number 5 east of the Rockies. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. So I'm going to leave a lot of this in. I might trim some of the. We're having technical difficulties. So,
right.
But east of the Rockies, going.
Hold on, give me just a second to get this fixed. Okay, hold on.
I could insert the secondary little chirp, I would.
Right?
So.
Coming on over the damn iPod.
Coming over from the iPod.
Oh.
iPod.
I'm trying to get to come in over the Bluetooth on the phone, but
The Bluetooth.
being stupid.
It's being stupid. Damn technology, we survive on it
Yeah.
daily, and yet it still sucks.
Yeah, right? Okay, got it. I'm ready to go.
Back on East of the Rockies, you're on the air. You're telling us about that weird minotaur you saw at the side of the...
desert.
You were telling us about that minotaur you saw on the side, by the side of your truck, sir. Now, can you tell us a little bit more?
It was humping my tire, buddy. I dragged it on the outside trying to beat it up.
Did it have any of that grass-fed butter?
Yes, it did. Had a whole handful.
Folks, if you don't know, if you haven't been listening to that, that was about 2 years ago, roughly.
Go all the way back to episode, 3.
Yeah, that was hysterical.
Grass-fed butter.
Grass-fed butter. But to kind of continue to salvage where we left off, ladies and gentlemen, and the alien in the back.
Right?
So, just the weirdness that is this over. I won't say overpriced. That for the folks who don't understand, this kind of segues into our next topic a little bit, in regards to getting folks for an event or convention, with someone like the Undertaker.
Wait, before no. We
Alright.
totally. I didn't say it because I wasn't trying to mess up your presentation here. You totally glazed over the biggest news with AEW.
Which is,
They signed Kenny Omega.
who's Kenny Omega?
Who's Kenny Omega? Oh my God! Oh, I just got out of the car and walked over.
You kind of figure that there might be people who are listening to this not familiar with Mr. Omega.
Kenny Omega is the former IGWP champion, probably one of the biggest names in the biz outside of the WWE. Has been offered contracts by the WWE, but has refused every time. Wanted to stay on the independents and the Japanese circuit, and is one of the top wrestlers in the entire world as far as the way he wrestles, and he's wrestled everybody. I mean, he's wrestled the Bryan Danielsons, he's wrestled all the Japanese top contenders. He just did a main event with Chris Jericho last year, and that was the big news. They had a presser the other day where Kenny Omega came out and basically presented the fact that he had signed to AEW, that it was a long time coming, yada yada yada, 4 years, and that in mid conversation with the audience that was there live, Chris Jericho came out. So now we're finding out Chris Jericho is another one that has signed. Chris Jericho came out, and now I think they're going to be the main event at the MGM. Oh, I forget what it's going to be called. Well, their main event, that's their big grand opening event that's coming up.
And that being said, before we kind of segue into the next topic, you brought up that little thing with that particular wrestler. I forgot to mention the other tie-in article in regards to the AEW, and that's the one I shared recently. As of it's still Saturday here on the East Coast. Is that the article I shared was how WWE is reportedly incentivizing superstars to stay out of AEW.
Oh yeah.
So and the article kind of said, well, there's nothing to AEW. The wrestlers shouldn't be worried, but says according to Wrestling Observer, the WWE will give love to unhappy superstars in the form of on-air pushes and pay boosts via TV deals and money from Saudi Arabian shows. We can't speak on the money, but we can't help but notice guys like Chad Cable, Bobby Roode, Apollo Crews, and Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, and Mojo Rawley all getting an uptick of camera time in recent weeks, solidifying the Observer scoop, meaning that they don't wait. It's like, but still, they mentioned Dean Ambrose reportedly, in essence, possibly going, and they're trying to, and also says the WWE is said to be negotiating with AJ Styles and the Usos currently. The question's like, is WWE being paranoid? And they say their thing is not really. But the thing is, yeah, AEW hasn't rung a bell yet, but yeah, to me personally, WWE should be a little bit paranoid with people jumping ship.
They really should. I mean, because AEW, from what I understand, it's being backed by real good money. Like, apparently, this is not like Impact Wrestling where people were there and nobody was getting paid. This is like apparently like a solid deal where there's real money involved, and apparently they've even worked out some kind of a TV deal at some point to where it's going to be like more accessible than WWE. So I don't know what they got planned, but I think WWE should be taking a real hard look at some of their superstars that they've been like kind of putting under the rug, because you might start seeing some familiar faces pop over there. As far as AJ Styles goes, I could see him going over to AEW, and I can see him getting out of any contract that he's in by just simply being himself and screwing up and saying things like when he was on Steven Crowder a few weeks ago. Did you see that? When he was
I have to get when I switched my iPod over to the new computer here. A lot of it saw that I had older stuff on it, or stuff that was on the loaner computer that you so graciously loaned me, and said, nope, we're going to erase everything and put all the stuff that you have on this computer. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. So I have to get back, I'll have to try to find that episode on from Joe Rogan.
Even Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder. I gotta get that. That's different.
He was on Steven Crowder, and it was he was being himself, not AJ Styles, the WWE superstar. He was being himself. So let's put it that way. And I think if he continues doing stuff like that, I don't know what the WWE was in the past was real funny about anybody saying anything out of character. Or being on TV shows or being on podcasts or anything like that they didn't approve of. In recent years, it seems that they're a little bit more lenient about that stuff, but I'm not sure to what degree and for whom. Because sometimes it depends on the superstar. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just to question you, is the podcast from Louder with Crowder free on iTunes, or?
Yeah, you can. Okay. Well, you can watch the video on YouTube.
Right, true.
Yeah. So,
but I tend to, while waiting for the bus at work, I tend to listen to.
That way. I just watch the video.
The thing is, I'm trying to listen to more podcasts while waiting for the bus at work to pick me up. So.
Well, you can look it up. I'm not sure because I don't listen to Crowder on the podcast. I just watch the videos.
I guess I'll check with iTunes.
If you download it, YouTube has that app now that you can listen to. It's got like, it's almost like a music app, and I don't know if podcast videos or whatever would be a part of that, but I know that it's more. It operates more like a music app or something like that, where I think it's just audio.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And it looks like the missus just saw the latest Fluffy episode stand up, and she loved it. Trust me, it's funny as hell. But that's one thing I didn't put in. We'll do a few reviews later in the episode. To kind of fast forward, because we have Topic ADD on this show, which has been a show norm for the past 3+ years now. We were kind of talking about appearance fees and kind of walking into the topic that actress Rachel True came out on Twitter about a week or so ago, saying that she was at a her quote was that she was snubbed from going to a convention because that convention had like Felicia Balk, Naive Campbell, and one other actress, and they claimed that it was a craft reunion show with these three actors, and she claimed she was snubbed due to them being racist and because she was black. I kind of want to call bullshit on this. If I would normally not call bullshit on this if it wasn't for over the last, I want to say 3 years working kind of behind the scenes of conventions with this show. I'm not putting any blame on Matt or anything like that, but when you start working behind the scenes, you get to know a little bit more information, and especially when you follow a lot of promoters on Facebook, you get to know a little bit about behind the scenes and what goes into a show, other than you buying a ticket and getting your autographs and your stuff at the show. Because the convention that she says was quote-unquote racist was never mentioned in the article I saw. So I want to put this in context, is that because the convention was not named, there is no way of knowing, one, who the convention had in the past. And that's number one. Number two, for their upcoming show with Naive Campbell and the other three craft actresses, there was no way of knowing who else they had at that show. The reason why I put this is because if they had stars that are really big draws, it's kind of hard to say how much money they would have had left for Rachel True in regards to this. And if they had also stating that, the question being is like, when I said to one person, it's like, well, did they have like someone like Tony Todd there in the past? Did they have someone like Keith David there in the past? If so, then that particular show can they really be called racist because they didn't have funds for Rachel True, or they didn't invite Rachel True? Or what, could she be considered a bigger draw for that particular venue? You know, these were my questions that are kind of unanswered to help make me say, well, is this convention as what she says says it is? Right. And you and I both know that a convention, whether it be a big convention like a Baltimore, an Awesome Con, despite our hate for, yes, we got turned down, folks, but surprise, surprise. But notice I'm not pissed off this year, but surprise, surprise. Yeah. Or a place like Otakon, or any major.
I know what you put on that application, so.
Yeah, I said it last the previous episode with Randy from Geek World Order. It was like, yeah, you're not gonna approve me. I know why you're not gonna approve me. I did it because I didn't really give a shit anyway. They weren't gonna approve my ass anyway, so I was like, I don't give a shit. Right. But it's kind of, I just want to use, like, if it's a Wizard World convention, or a New York Comic-Con, or a San Diego, these are big. It's like, for someone like her to say, oh, I wasn't invited because they're racist and I'm black, just like how they snubbed in the press stuff junkets for the craft. Like, wait a minute, at least you and I both know that someone like Bruce Campbell is a big draw. Somebody like Tony Todd is a big draw. Someone like Naive Campbell is a big draw. And Rachel.
I mean, you got to look at their acting like career, like their filmography. Like, okay, Nev Campbell's been in a lot of movies.
Right.
What else do we know Rachel True from?
Absolutely.
From Half Baked. She was Mary Jane Potman. That's it. That's all I really know her from. I know her from The Craft, and I know her from Half Baked.
And that.
Now that granted, that's probably enough that I would want to get an autograph from her, and she doesn't charge much. They put up the prices. I think she was charging $40. And that's about what those people charge.
Right.
But I don't know. For her to say it was racist, I don't think it was racist as much as I think it was just an oversight, or it was. I think she perceived it as racist, and I think that they weren't even really thinking about her. Because, Nev Campbell, like you said, she's a bigger draw, and Fairuza Balk has been in many movies too, and she's a bigger draw. The other girl has never done a convention before, and Rachel True, I don't know that she's done conventions. I'm not sure.
The other girl's name is Robin Tooney, and I know a couple of years back she was in a movie that it was a musical and it was all done to Beatles songs, which was completely awesome. So
yeah, I did like that movie. Yeah,
and I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm bringing up Rachel True's IMDb. Let's see what she has done. Half Baked. Let's see. She's done 50.
Is she still? She's still working, right?
Yeah, she's still working, but nothing really major.
Right. And that's the thing.
Sharknado, Heart of Darkness.
If it's the convention that I'm thinking it is, and I'm going to go ahead and name it, I think if it's Monster Mania, New Jersey, then I don't think that. I think that they probably would have overlooked her simply because of star power. I don't think that she's been in a lot of stuff, so why spend the money? But then again, like, I'm sure that they weren't like, oh, we got to keep her away. I think in essence, I think that now I know that they actually signed her, and now all four of them are actually doing the convention together.
And
as of this recording, that's what it says on the website.
Yeah, I noticed that Monster Mania added her to their list. I don't know. Yeah, after all this came out, I don't know if it is Monster Mania or not. If it is, I'm not knocking Monster Mania. They put on a hell of a show. They do.
Yeah. But you gotta consider the talent that they usually have in there is not people like Rachel True.
Right, and the thing is, if it is Monster Mania,
are top tier people.
Right. Again, if it
everybody that they've signed that I've been there for, these are like top names in horror and movies.
Let me say this: if it is Monster Mania, they've had Tony Todd, they've had Keith David.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
This is what I'm saying. If you go to Monster Mania, you're not getting B-level or C-level celebrities most times. Like, the people, when I was, okay, let's put it this way. I was in a room the last time I went to the, I guess the Maryland show. I was in a room with Ric Flair, Phil Anselmo from Pantera, Elizabeth, what's her damn name from the goddamn Pie movies?
Hurley?
Not Hurley. Whatever. That bitch. And I was in there with her. Was it Christy Swanson? The dude who played, he was in fucking Fright Night, and he was Jack Skellington.
I think I know who you mean.
And Humperdinck from Princess Bride.
Right.
Like, these are the people that were in Chris Sarandon. Sorry, these are the people I was in the room with. Okay, that's the kind of star power that they put at these shows. Those are like A- level celebrities. Rachel True, as cool as I think she is, she's not somebody that like is going to be in that room. You know what
Right.
I mean? Unless she's part of the group, which she is now. But booked on her own, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking what they probably did was they had booked the 2 top-tier people from the movie and called it a reunion. Nev Campbell is the one that let her know about this. She said she told Rachel True. That's what it says in the article that I read. She said in the article that she's the one that let her know about this, and she got upset. So I'm willing to bet you it was news to the Monster Mania convention people, and they were like, oh, no, yeah, let's get her too. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but I was just thinking top-tier people probably. You know what I'm saying? I'm not putting words in their mouth or anything, but, like, that's, to me, I don't see Monster Mania as anything but a cordial, awesome, amazing festival. There's nothing racist about Monster Mania and the people that set it up.
Right.
I think the perception from Rachel True is, because she doesn't know that, I think, like a lot of people do nowadays, they just, if they don't understand it or it just seems off, that they're labeling it racist. So I think she was just projecting, and she was probably mad because she had been snubbed in the past, and she thought it was more of the same, which I can't blame her for that. I understand it. That what they did to her at that movie awards was, to me, that would be hurtful to me.
Yeah, she didn't necessarily say it was racist. Part of her tweet, because I have what looks like might be a fabricated response to it, but it kind of includes her initial tweet, and it said conventions are booking part of it, because it didn't show the whole thing. It says conventions are booking Naive, Fazula, and Robin all together, but excluding me. Sounds about white. And
Right.
the response kind of because of it didn't say who was saying it, because the top of the screen was kind of cut off, or who the account holder is, says, John, we're going to pass on Rachel. This was totally uncalled for. That's part of what I wanted to discuss it, because if she keeps this winding up and kind of claiming, you don't want to invite me because of you want to keep all your guests white.
Right. Well,
This,
she very well could cost those other actresses appearances.
Right, or it cost herself appearances because nobody wants to touch her.
Well, that's the thing. But here's the thing. If Nev Campbell is the one that was speaking up for her, and if the only reason people want to get Nev Campbell is for, like, craft stuff, or, like, get her and Fairuza Balk in there together, they're probably going to decline because they don't want to be associated with anything that might be perceived as racist. Therefore, it's going to cost them appearances. Also, there might be people out there that just don't like what Rachel True said, and where they would go and get a craft autograph, they might say, no, I'm not going to now. So she really needs to tread lightly, I guess. I know it sounds bad to say. That's really bad optics to say, like, the person who got hurt needs to tread lightly, but in all honesty, I think, number one, the convention's not racist. The fans are not racist.
That's the thing. It's like,
and I think overall, I think it's just the perception. Like I said, she did get snubbed at an award ceremony back in the day where they were supposed to all present for something. I think it was MTV. But it was only the white girls that went up on stage and presented, and she was left in the audience. Now, that's her story. I don't know if it's true, because I never saw it. But, if that is true, that's awful. And apparently she got snubbed when they were doing press for the movie, where they talked to the other two but didn't talk to the other three, but they didn't talk to her. So I don't know if that's true either, because again, I don't remember any of the press stuff for that, and I haven't seen any of it.
yeah,
But at the same time, like, if that is true, I could see her having like a bit of a grudge or a bit of a sore spot when it comes to that, and that just be. But then again, how many conventions is she doing? She might just not understand how conventions work.
true. And I want to say, you folks at home, you hear a lot from. I'm going to kind of give a little of the channel's credit for what they do. The quartering, big about this a lot, and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers talk about this a lot, that fans nowadays, they don't want to hear this crap, and they're going to vote with their wallets, because if you have an actress like Rachel True saying, oh, they're doing this because they're so, in essence saying, so white, and the fans kind of come out and they're going to say, wait a minute, you think because I'm coming here, been a fan of this show since it started. I know the show, like we said, Tony Todd's been here, Keith David, I'm not racist, why are you calling me this? You know what, I was going to get your autograph and pay you that $40, you know what, I'm not getting your autograph, I'm saving that $40 for the other person that's charging $40. So out of the 100 possible, for the sake of math, 100 people that might be going there that get her autograph, instead of 100 people getting it, it might be 30 people or 20 people. And
I mean, like I said, she may think that Monster Mania convention is like a nameless, faceless, corporate organization that puts on this convention, like San Diego Comic-Con or some shit like that.
Right.
The truth is, it's just a dude and his family, like, that has been doing it for a long time.
And very successful at it, too.
Right, and that's where it comes down to it. Again, we don't know if it's Monster Mania, but my suspicions are that it was Monster Mania, because they were the ones that were having the craft stuff. But if it is, the family that puts out Monster Mania, I think she might have the wrong perception. I think that's really what it comes down to. I don't think that it was anything more than just her not understanding who she was talking to or about. Because, I don't think that person that books that show, that has been doing it for all these years, I don't think there's a racist bone in that dude's body.
Right. The thing, this is also going to be a lot of
the people he works with.
You can almost say this is a lot of, again, what you hear. I'm not knocking what Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers or the Quartering say at all, because they do hit on a lot of good points on their YouTube channels. But the fact of the matter is, you hear this a lot in Hollywood, especially with, like we talked about, Steven Crowder. They have to, it's like, oh, this is because of, they're doing this because of this. They're doing this because of, in Rachel's True's case, doing it because they're so white.
Right.
They got to feel that they got to do this in order to help their career out further. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm being an activist. Hire me, I'm being an activist,
Right.
And naive Campbell pointing this out.
And it's also, I think people are really too quick to play the race card sometimes.
Right.
Because, a lot of time it has nothing to do with anything racial and a lot more to do with someone's career. She's a very good black actress, and an actress all the same, but if she wants to get into the racial politics of it, she's a very good black actress. She just hasn't been in a lot of movies.
Right.
She's still working, but it's nothing that anybody knows of. So if Monster Mania's first choice was other people that have been in notable monster movies other than the one that she was in with them, she can't go playing the race card for that. She needs to just accept the fact that her career went on a different path. But it's hard for people to just admit their own shortcomings and say, well, maybe I'm not the actress that they are, and that's why they got booked over me. It's her, she's upset because it's not her. You know what I'm saying? And she wants to go ahead and say, it's because I'm black. And if she could get that way of thinking out of her head, that maybe that has nothing to do with it, she wouldn't go saying stuff like, sounds white to me. You know what I mean?
Right. And the thing is, with, like, I just looked up Naive Campbell. She's been in a lot of more notable stuff recently than True has. And when it comes to, I know Miss Bulk hasn't been in. She's been in a few not notable stuff, but because she's been, I think, more so out of the limelight, or keeping herself out of the limelight more so than Drew has. You know, it's more. I don't want to be too much in doing a lot of the bigger stuff than most actresses out there, but she's done a lot of stuff since then. But again, not a lot of notable stuff.
I'll say one thing about Fairuza Balk though, and you might agree with me on this, you might not. Her overall look in both The Craft and in the Adam Sandler movie that she was in was more of a gothy, kind of punky, kind of badass kind of thing.
Right.
And in the 90s, when those movies came out, a lot of girls modeled themselves after her. She was like, you know, she was like kind of the poster girl for like the badass kind of gothy punky chick. If you remember. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do. I know. She was that kind of character.
So that character and that you know, that style is probably has a lot to do with why she's getting booked for shows like this. Is because that's what she portrayed, and that's who, you know, a lot of people probably still style themselves similarly after her characters. So, you know, I can't say the same for Rachel True, but I know for a fact that a lot of girls really looked up to Fairuza Balk back in the day.
That's true. You're probably right about that. It's just that with someone of that nature, they're kind of pigeonholed into that type of character. But since she's not been working that well, she's been working a few instances, many instances since then. But she has her own, I think, off-screen career as well, plus doing shows.
Sure.
There has been many actresses and actors who are big names, just that they don't continue their acting career in Hollywood for various reasons. And they just keep to themselves. They enjoy, hey, I don't mind doing a convention every now and again because they like my work. So.
Exactly. I don't think there's a whole lot to it, to be honest with you. I think at the end of the day, she signed to the convention now, and I think everybody got what they wanted. She got a little bit of notoriety and exposure from this, hopefully in a good light, and people will want to go out and see her at the convention. But, you know, hopefully she didn't put a bad taste in too many people's mouths to hurt herself and her career and or the convention.
Well, if it, let me put it like this: if it was it was Monster Mania, probably good chance we'll hear all about it when Monster Mania finally hits.
Yep.
And word will probably come out through some channel or another in regards to, I'll keep my nose to Monster Mania's page or event page, because some conventions do an event page as well as their main page, to kind of sift through what's been happening. Maybe we'll hear similar reports, hopefully not like what happened last year with Monster Mania in regards to it being overbooked, in reference to ticket sales, but we might hear some.
Have you seen the list?
It might happen again, but
it's gonna happen again. Have you seen the list for New Jersey?
I think so.
Dolph Lundgren, Christina Ricci. That's the top two right there. And like they published a list of how much their autographs are. Dude, they're not New Jersey prices. They are like cheap. To me, there were like $70 and $80 and that's for the top tier people for autographs. You know, I paid $85 for Robert Englund. So right there, like, you know, for Christina Ricci, I believe it was 80 or 70, and I was like, holy shit, that's cheap compared to like most people.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, in the autograph game, that is, you know. Yeah, I can't remember all the people right offhand, but it's pretty stacked, like, as far as who they got. I know that there's a couple special ones that are in there. I think Tony Todd's doing in-costume stuff.
Let's see.
I know they got the craft reunion thing with all four of them with photo ops. I mean, there's a bunch of people. It's pretty stacked. I don't think it's as stacked as last year, but I do think that it's stacked enough that they might have problems again.
Okay, they have. Okay.
Not problems for the vendors though. The vendors, they ran out of pockets to shove their money in, from what I understand.
Okay. 3 days. This was the Crown, March 8th through the 10th. Crown. This is the one we're kind of just talking about. I brought it up. Dolph Lundgren, Christina Ricci, Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. That was the other.
Let's see here. I gotta move the mic out of the way. Dylan McDermott.
God, would you learn to read?
I can't read. It's names that stump the shit out of me. Naive Campbell.
These are just fucked up.
Yeah, these names are fucked up.
Take you to a hockey game, make you read their names.
Only if you record me reading their names.
Right?
Steve Gutenberg, Kathy Najimy?
What?
Kathy Najimy?
Oh, Kathy Najimy. Dude, you know who she is, right?
Yeah. She lost a lot of fucking weight. At least from the photo that they show.
No, she really did. She doesn't look like anything like what she looked like back in the day.
Nick Castle. Danielle Harris, if I went, I'd see her because I love the Hatchet movies.
Right.
Hatchet 2 and 3. Third one is the funniest shit. And I'm saying that in a good way. Candyman. Yeah. So White. And who the fuck they have in this year, if it was Monster Mania? Tony fucking Todd. Tony fucking Todd. Tell me how a convention is so damn white when you have Tony fucking Todd.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think she's familiar with the convention scene at all.
Right. Shawn Michaels, Kane.
I think she was just talking kind of out of her ass. You know what I mean?
And Phil Fundacero, Caro?
What?
I can't pronounce his name, but you know who he was. He's the midget that was in. I don't want to say midget. He was the little person in Troll, Willow.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Again, he's if not mixed, he's African American, and he's a little goddamn person. Talk about a minority of a minority, right there.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
And Father Evil looks like he's African American.
He is. And he's awesome.
God damn, it's like, I don't think she knows anything about the convention circuit.
Father Evil was at Monster Mania the last time we went down there, and he had a booth, but he wasn't really at his booth all day. He was kind of roaming the halls, and his room was on the same floor as ours, because we stayed in a hotel. And my son, who was only, I guess he would have been 4 at the time, he was scared to death of Father Evil because he kept giving him these weird looks. And so we go to get on the elevator, and he gets on before us. And I want you to imagine this. There was already maybe 4 people on the elevator, and here comes Father Evil. He's got his whole makeup on, like he does in the thing. He's got the big robes on. So, there's not a lot of room left on the elevator. So we're kind of like, yeah, we'll wait. So he gets on and turns right around, looks at my son, points his finger at him, and gives him this wicked look, and the door is just shut while he's still doing it. Caleb was like,
I bet, and actually, if you actually knew him, he's probably the nicest fucking person you could ever meet.
Yeah, we talked to him after that. He was enjoying torturing my son, and he thought it was hilarious. I said, I agree. It's making me laugh too.
And as stated, if I'm sure you agree, heard one person state, if you can't troll your kids, what's the point of being a parent if you can't troll your kids every now and again?
Jesus, I think I've made a new job of trolling my son. Caleb, what are you playing? Fortnite? Fortnite? Yeah, all day. Caleb, knock knock. Who's there? Boo. Boo-hoo! Stop crying. All day.
If if I had the money for it, I could hear it being sucked out of my pocket right now. Because check out now, as we both know and both stated in the past, AwesomeCon is a money-sucking show. It's pure. That's pure what it is.
Yeah, it's all it is.
And we will continue. I'll say this: we will continue bad-mouthing AwesomeCon until they give us a press pass. How about them apples? And it's not blackmail because it's true. Look what happened with Otakon. We bad-mouthed them for over 10 years, and they gave us press passes. And what happened? We don't bad-mouth them anymore. So things work.
You'll learn.
But their guest list this year alone, these are the ones that I'd gun for. Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's one. Brett Spiner.
Wow.
Cary Elwes. He's from Men in Tights and
from Princess Bride.
Yeah. Let's see. David Walker seems familiar. Ian Michael Smith. He was the other Hall's co-star in Weird Science.
Oh,
he's going to be
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't done anything in years, has he?
Right. This is going. AwesomeCon is saying this is going to be a Weird Science reunion. So they have him, Hall, and what's her name who played the chick? I'll get to her name. Yeah. Gates McFadden's going to be there. Let's see.
Wait a minute, Dr. Crusher?
Yeah, Dr. Crusher.
Ooh, Dr. Crusher.
The Crusher. That's why if the man from Slacker the Man was still on the air, I'd be trolling them. I'd get a photo op just to troll the man. I would. You know I would. I'd pay the $50. Right. Look what how close I am. Fuck you. And I'd talk to her. It's like, can we stage it to make it look like you're hugging me so I could troll somebody? Okay, thank you. So, also Jason Isaacs, he was Papa Draco, and I think he's in Star Trek Discovery, from the looks of it. John Bernthal, the Punisher himself.
John Bernthal, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Kelly LeBrock was the other actress from Weird Science that was going to be there.
Right.
Kevin Sorbo is going to be there.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Matt, now this is what's going to be interesting. This is why I want to follow AwesomeCon this year, because back in 2017 they've done fucked up with that particular guest, and this year they have Matt Smith.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 2016 they done fucked up with their Doctor Who guest Patrick Capaldi.
Right.
I want to see if they fuck up again with Matt Smith, or did they learn their lesson?
We'll see.
They also have
a lot of lessons that they need to learn. I hope they learned a whole bunch of them, because every year's been kind of a fucking mess as far as what I've heard.
Right, and they have Marina Sirtis, aka Counselor Troy.
Right.
I'd be the asshole on that one. This would be after I get the autograph from her. I'd ask her, how many folks like me have come up to you and say, I remember you from your Canon Films days?
Huh.
Because in a lot of the Canon films, she's been either topless or fully nude.
Really?
Yes. When she was in, I think it was like Death Wish 3.
Right.
She was one of the victims in that, and they pretty much tore her top off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know her career that much, other than Star Trek.
You forget, I'm older than you. I was there. I was in them there days before IMDb. And I saw the Canon Films documentary too. That's how I'm like, no shit. I didn't know this shit, and I had to rewatch Death Wish 3. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Michael Biehn is going to be at AwesomeCon this year.
Okay.
Mr. John Connor himself.
Right.
Mr. I'm just doing this for the paycheck.
Right.
No, that was one of the things that came out when he was doing voiceover work. He said, they were trying to give him directive, like one of the voice directors was trying to direct him to do something. He's like, dude, I'm just here for the paycheck. I don't give a crap. it was like that point too. He's like, I'm just here for the. He didn't even care.
Right.
Michael Coulter, aka I forget the. He was in Netflix. Not Iron Fist.
Daredevil?
Not Daredevil. He was in with in the Defenders with Daredevil, Iron Fist. I forget. Luke Cage. There it is. I knew I'd get it. He played Luke Cage. Let's see, who else? Theo Rossi. I think he was in.
I watched half of the first season and it's just boring to me.
Theo Rossi. I think Theo Rossi was in Breaking Bad too. I want to look him up. Where's my phone? I should have IMDb up for this. Let's see. Let's bring up IMDb and see what. Loading. You're on my damn internet. You have a good connection, so shut up with your loading crap. Theo R.O. There we go. Oh, he was in Luke Cage as well. I want to say he was in Breaking Bad too, but I don't know. They have him down as Son of Anarchy. No, he wasn't in Breaking Bad. Oop, my bad though. Pun intended. I thought he was in Breaking Bad, but I was mistaken. Also, Sting's going to be there. Sting.
Oh, okay. But I'm guessing the wrestler, not the artist.
Right, the wrestler. Phil Wheaton is going to be there.
Phil Wheaton?
Phil Wheaton.
Oh, man, I bet he gets that all the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Stewie.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to meet Phil Wheaton.
Wallace Shawn is going to be there. Basically, he was the one kidnapper in Princess Bride, and there's also the Grand Nagus in DS9.
Oh, okay.
And I can't look at him with a straight face. Val Kilmer.
Huh.
Bat nipples. But all in all, if he was still going, I would have wanted to go for his autograph alone, and that was Tim Curry.
Yeah.
But
Val Kilmer, man. I remember when he did Apple Blossom here.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Oh, yeah, okay. And you saw how bloated and, he was wearing a black suit and then was sweating everywhere.
Yeah. I think that was when he was doing his, I forgot, he was doing some spy parody or something like that.
Something dumb, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't cared about his career since, I don't know, Top Secret.
Right. For me, it was probably Real Genius was his best work, and after that, it was kind of maybe downhill.
Yeah, Real Genius, Top Secret, that should be it for me. After that, don't care.
Right.
Actually, no, that's not true. He did a movie. It was about Native Americans. I think it was called Thunderheart. Have you ever seen that?
It rings a bell, but I don't remember it.
In the 90s, it was really good, actually. That's the only other movie besides that I actually like of his. Besides Top Gun.
Yeah, that was the only other one I remember him being in.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in Top Gun. He was in, Top Secret. And Real Genius. That's it. Thunderheart.
And to kind of move things along, there's at least two things I want to kind of cover, maybe three kind of cover. One of which is news coming out that Xbox is going to be on other consoles.
Yeah, I saw that. They're going to be on the Switch.
On the Switch. Basically, when you the titles are kind of misleading because when you read into it, it's all about cross-platform play.
Right.
And basically, what it boils down to when you read into it and know a little bit about what's going on, it's a way of them saying, okay, even though we have very secure servers, better than PlayStation at times, what happens is you need a little bit of the other, meaning that what an Xbox is doing is they're reaching out to Nintendo, which is in essence right down the street from them in Washington, and saying, hey, we want to make cross-platform with our games, let's say Minecraft, because that's one of the major games that's cross-platform, or Fortnite. We want to make it easier for you to be able to play with our Xbox Live members. And the best way to do that is to allow you to have some sort of access to our servers. And doing so is makes it easier to transfer. I mean, if you're playing Minecraft on the Switch, you're able to transfer that file over to your Xbox One, and vice versa, that sort of thing. Or play with it. It's more of an ease to use and make it accessible to see friends that coming on the Switch, and just to make things easier. Yeah. And some people might say that it's how Xbox is kind of trying to make the comeback that it should have made way back when it first came out many years ago.
It just makes more sense because people are playing on all kinds of different, platforms, and it's excluding people from playing together. And some people might not buy games for the simple fact that they can't play with their friends. So
right. And that's, I guess, part of what they're trying to do is that as more games come out that are cross-platform, like I just downloaded tonight, Apex, the new Battle Royale type shoot-'em-up game, that's, I think, cross-platform. It's going to allow games like that. If you're playing on...
Do you think they're going to ease up on the licensing then to have them so there's less exclusive games like Red Dead and stuff like that, like where you could play it like on Switch or like Grand Theft Auto or Halo or something, like you could play them on Switch too?
Well, that's up to places like Rockstar to incorporate that cross-platform aspect. It puts them more if a game like Rockstar wants to put it in Red Dead or incorporate it into the online aspect of Red Dead Redemption 2, they're able to adjust their code to allow that even easier right now. Or if a game like Call of Duty wants to do it, or the next iteration of Minecraft, it allows the developers to do that because both they might have, Nintendo wants to have our game on the Switch, and we're already doing this for the Xbox, for Microsoft, and they're cross-play. Let's incorporate some we could add that to our system. Play with Nintendo players. Play with, now it's up to Nintendo to say, hey, let's have more third-party people on ours.
Okay, in other words, do you think it would bolster more competition amongst the game developers or the game console developers to make better systems too?
Quite possibly. Hopefully. It could be now what has to happen is I've been hearing that Nintendo's online service is really, really weak and really, I don't have it. I've been hearing this. Their online service is really weak and fragmented.
It's really bad.
And as you confirmed, it's really bad. And Xbox approaching Nintendo saying, hey, let us help you. They're the ones that are saying, let us help you build up your online aspect of things, and let's show you how it's done. Not the best, but it's done. We're talking about a Japanese company. That's primarily a Japanese company. Their main competitor is Sony overseas in Japan, and if they're able to have that leg up, that in essence is Microsoft. This benefits both Nintendo and Microsoft because, in a way, they could say in Japan, where the Xbox is really, really far behind, where in Japan, I think the console stands PlayStation, Nintendo, and then Xbox.
Right.
And Xbox is a very distant third, where here in the States, it's PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo is the distant third. And at least that way, Xbox could say, Nintendo could say, hey, Xbox has been helping us with our online game and our service, and showing us how to be better. We're learning, and therefore they could have. This is a win-win scenario for both Nintendo and Xbox, especially when the next generation comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see when that happens. But for now, this is a positive step forward, and
I think it's going to bring Nintendo's online capabilities modern with Xbox and PlayStation finally, so that they can be more of a competitor in the professional gaming markets and stuff like that. And you might start seeing a lot more kid-friendly stuff be more competitive too.
Right.
Which would be nice because a lot of it is shoot 'em up, kill, kill, kill. But just say what if there was competitive? Can you imagine highly competitive? What is it? Why can't I think of the name of it? God damn, Super Smash Brothers or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think we'll see Super Smash Brothers on the Xbox, but
because they're not going to do that. I see what you're saying, but it's not. Xbox is known. The whole point I'm saying is Xbox and PlayStation are known for being esport competitive systems.
Right.
Nintendo is not. Despite despite being in the movie The Wizard as the very first esport competitive machine, Nintendo it really in recent years I don't think people look at it like an esports competitive machine. Nobody's getting on there and doing Call of Duty style matches and stuff like that to where there's stakes. I think this will help them get to that point with an online system. They could probably look at that system and go, oh, okay, we can develop something like this. You know what I mean?
Right. But I'll have to correct you there. Smash Brothers has been kind of an esports type of game because of its style, but it's not as well known as something like League of Legends or Call of Duty or Halo.
Exactly. Well, that's my point, though. But I mean, there are games on there that are very competitive. I mean, Fortnite for Switch, and like you said, League of Legends is on, or not League of Legends, but Rocket League is on there. Stuff like that. But.
Right. And folks, if it sounds like I am trying to be attentive here. It's just that a few things came across our tables, promotional wise, that I want to respond to. So I don't think Big Candy could fault me for that.
No, do it up, boss. Do it.
Basically, I want to say friend of the show, Nick Hunt, occasionally puts up, what are you doing right now? And as a way of saying, to be curious and to spark conversation with those on his friends list. And I posted up, recording a new episode of our podcast, and somebody responded, really, what's it called? What's it about? Where where can I find it and listen? So I had to at least drop a few links and give the standard, it's the Long Coat Mafia Podcast, the internet's most hated geek mafia-themed geek podcast. This is where you can find us. So,
boom. There it is.
Boom. The other thing I want to kind of talk about is Battle Angel Alita. Early reviews came out. It doesn't come out until late. I hate knowing this because it's Big Candy's pet peeve. It comes out on the 14th. Fucking Valentine's Day, you motherfucking piece of shit holiday. It comes out on the 14th. It comes out on Valentine's Day.
Anybody that hates Valentine's Day, it's this dude.
Fuck you.
God damn, dude. I've seen some hating on the shit, but man, the way Godfather hates fucking Valentine's Day, Jesus.
I think.
Bottle that up and poison your enemies with it.
I think there was only once I loved Valentine's Day, and that gut-touching bitch had to ruin it.
Now, don't get all Alex Jones on me.
Oh, that's what you wanted to talk about. Great segue. Not even plan it. Because you wanted to talk.
I know.
What a great segue, because you wanted to talk about it. I almost forgot about it. I didn't even put it on my own list. And you... What a segue! What a segue! I bow down to you, oh great big candy. What is this news about Alex Jones that you wanted to tell about right here, right now?
So, earlier in the week, Joe Rogan had on the guy one of the founders of Twitter. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Oh, God. Hold on. I gotta look it up.
So do I.
Keep talking, Phil Space.
Phil Space. Well, the guy, Big Candy is searching for that that information. Let me give you a brief review of the Netflix original Watership Down miniseries. Let me say this: it's not as dark as it's a little bit dark, but not as dark as the original cartoon that's been out for 30 plus years, and we're talking a real dark cartoon, and the animation is awesome in it. But as per this, I think it's like a 5 or 6 episode miniseries. The animation's not the best. There are times where it looks like they used actual rabbits, even though it's all CGI. It's got a good voice cast, but again, the CGI isn't. At times is kind of not good, and other times it's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. They actually look like rabbits. So there's that. It does have a stellar voice cast attached to it. So that's a good thing. I do say go give it a listen. Not listen, a watch, because I think a lot of you would get an enjoyment out of it. So, and not to mention, it's not as dark, so it's more, you can let your little kids watch it too, and they won't get scared like they would the original. But I do recommend the book is not a very heavy read like Dune is, or The Hobbit might be, or Lord of the Rings might be for some people. So I do recommend the book by Richard Adams as well. So, Big Candy, do you have that information?
I do. Jack Dorsey. I couldn't remember his name. Saved my life, and it's been in my head like all day. So Joe Rogan had on Jack Dorsey. He was founder and CEO, off and on, of Twitter. And the basis of the story on why a lot of people got pissed at Joe Rogan was he went easy on him in the interview. As you know, a lot of people have been getting deplatformed, demonetized, and kicked off of things like Twitter for controversial things they've been saying or doing. And people really wanted Joe Rogan to address these issues with Jack Dorsey, but he didn't go in hard on him. Apparently he was really soft, and it was kind of a boring interview. So, also, because you know that Alex Jones got kicked off Twitter, amongst other platforms, for saying things like, you know, the Sandy Hook thing was fake and a lot of other stuff, which he's apologized for. He's still nuts. But,
Alex Jones nuts? You don't say. You don't say.
Never.
Never.
Apparently for a while now, even before this happened, Alex Jones has been saying that Joe Rogan was like a CIA shill, and he's like, that he's like trying to get kids to do ayahuasca, and like all this stuff, all this crazy shit. He started blaming Joe Rogan. What it stems down to is when he hasn't been back on the show in 2 years. When he did the show 2 years ago, he went on there and started drinking and smoking weed and talking about interdimensional aliens, butt raping children or something, and it was really odd. I don't know if anybody heard it, but it was probably one of the oddest things that I've ever actually heard in my life.
I think I remember that episode.
Yeah, when Alex Jones got wasted and started talking out his ass, like, shit got real in that room. It was weird. So, Joe hasn't had him on in 2 years since, and I guess Alex caught wind that Joe was saying things about him and saying, like, you know, things about the Sandy Hook thing and blah, 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 whatever. Well, now Alex Jones hates Joe Rogan. And he went on, after the Jack Dorsey interview, he went on his show InfoWars earlier in the week and just, said he was waging war on Joe Rogan. And, you know, with all the vitriol and, like, the, you know, gnashing his teeth and, like, just going crazy, talking about what he was going to do to Joe Rogan. And it was pretty great. As far as, like, the entertainment value of what Alex Jones brings to the table when he loses his goddamn mind. So, it has gone on all week, and at one point he was saying that Jesus told him to wage war on Joe Rogan and all that stuff. So yesterday he had Tim Pool on the show, and you know who Tim Pool is, right?
Name doesn't ring a bell.
Tim Pool is a journalist who has been accused of being everything from a super leftist to a super alt-right personality, simply because he's pretty much like a centrist who covers both sides of the story, and he also covers, like, you know, when people, like, get beat up by the police, or if, like, people like Antifa are messing with normal people. He'll cover that, and, like, he doesn't really take sides, so people kind of label him as everything in between. But he got on there and basically jumped Joe's shit for not going after Jack Dorsey. He said, you went soft on him, like, right at the beginning of the show. He was like, you went soft on him, and we were kind of, you know, hoping that, you know, we had, like, a lot of faith in you that you would do the right thing. And Joe totally acknowledged it, and they got to talking about Alex Jones, and just, I don't know where this is going to go with what Alex Jones is trying to do. I don't know if he wants to take Joe's podcast down, which I think would be impossible at this time. But there's a lot of questions that get raised with the whole thing. One being, you know, in your opinion, do you think Joe Rogan is anybody's shill or anybody's puppet or anything like a CIA operative? Or, you know, do you think that as far as, like, you know, he had an opportunity to say something about the deplatforming and the people getting kicked off Twitter for basically being controversial? Do you think you know, people are right to be mad at him, and Alex Jones is right to be mad at him right now?
Personally, I think when it comes to the head of Twitter, I think a lot of people should be kind of mad at... I think the reason why, personally, Joe Rogan went easy on him, because here's a man that, for all intents and purposes, can turn off Joe Rogan's account for whatever goddamn reason he sees fit. Oh, he didn't treat me right on his show. Click. Joe Rogan's no longer on Twitter.
You remember what I said at sometime in the show where I said I was learning to code, right?
Right.
So what I meant by that was, and he didn't touch on this, and I was surprised he didn't, but Tim Pool brought it up. So when a lot of people lost their jobs back in the day, people in Kentucky and things like that were, you know, coal miners and all this other stuff, people that, like, you know, President Trump's base voters, and Trump was talking about, you know, bringing jobs back to mining country and things like that. Basically, the people were upset because their jobs were gone, and a lot of journalists and people in the tech industry kind of had a moment where they, and I'm using, you know, what Tim Pool said, had a moment of let them eat cake, and they said, learn to code. In other words, screw you and the job that you've been doing your whole life. Why don't you just learn to do something else? Why don't you learn to code? So it comes back around. Now a lot of journalists and tech people are losing their jobs at respective places. And the backlash against them when they go on to Twitter to complain, a lot of people that they were saying learn to code went on there and told them, hey, well, you lost your journalism job. Why don't you go learn to code? And apparently Twitter didn't like that and saw it as derogatory and kicked all those people off. Anybody that says learn to code can get kicked off of Twitter now because they see it as derogatory. Now, it wasn't derogatory when it was being said to coal miners who had lost their jobs, but it's derogatory saying to journalists on Twitter who go on there and shoot the shit and do all the stories and make all the news happen. So, there's kind of a double-edged sword there. Twitter, I think Twitter has a lot to account for with this whole deplatforming thing that they did to Alex Jones, whether you like Alex Jones or not.
Right, and that's the thing about places like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook a little bit is the whole aspect of you see it more so. That's as much as we as a show can get easier to get more a couple more listeners through Twitter. And it's easier. It's kind of you're tap dancing that fine line because with a flick of a switch or a tick of the keyboard, guess who's shadow banned for possibly spamming? Oh, this podcast or that podcast. Yet they're the little guy. They're not a Joe Rogan. They're not a Steven Crowder. They're not a Matt Pat or someone like that. They're the little guy. And
well, apparently now. Also with certain people, and it could happen to you because you put your stuff on YouTube, apparently CD Baby is copywriting people's voices now.
Right, they're copyright claiming people's YouTube channel because what Big Candy's alluding to is a YouTuber posted up a video, I think it was either today, Saturday, or within the past couple of days, concerning what happened to him. He did a test live stream to make sure all his settings were just right, and he set the video and the live stream to private, according to him, and CD Baby came along. Now, this is a video that not even the algorithm should have been touching because it's set to private. CD Baby came along and flagged 30 seconds of his private video that he streamed. That was his own voice, and there was no music part of it. It was just his voice, and said, this part of the video, we own it. It's copywritten.
Yep.
And that's...
And then their response was that it was YouTube, and it was their system that, basically picked it up and then reported it. And it's like, okay, well, so in other words, nobody's minding the system, and it's just picking up whatever it can for whatever reason. Like, I don't know what the algorithm is for, why it would think that was something else other than that guy's voice. But apparently that system, there's nobody really complaining. So you got to wonder in a lot of these things, are people getting banned for certain words just because, there's a machine picking it up and then they're getting banned, or are they getting banned because somebody actually complained? I'm thinking a lot more often that there's nobody really complaining on some of these things. I mean, in the case of Alex Jones, yeah, people are complaining loudly, but he still shouldn't lose a show. But I think a lot of times they're just going ahead and banning people now for saying certain words.
And the thing is, in regards to YouTube, you see it on Twitter a little bit. You don't really hear about it as much on Twitter, but I don't know if it happens a lot on Twitter. You might have heard it a couple of times in regards to it's mostly the fans that go after each other, and it's the people that, you know, pay the price.
Right.
Most notably over the past, I want to say 3 years, was Milo Yiannopoulos, you know, with what happened to him. But, and recently with Alex Jones, but on YouTube, there have been people that have, there was the one YouTuber that I remember seeing that some other YouTuber had just a beef with him, I want to say, with this other YouTuber, just kept flagging, copyright claiming his videos for no reason at all. And YouTuber is like, yeah, well, what you gonna do? And one of the other instances where one of the people brought up in regards to what happened on YouTube, it was I think I shared the post, and they were talking about this cartoon that they had up, playing for, obviously their child was a little bit too rambunctious and got a bloody nose. I think that's what I got out of the initial post, or the post that they were had shared up. And in order to keep the youngsters still, they had a YouTube cartoon playing that was in the aspect of YouTube for kids.
Right.
And as the post, you read down the post, it said about 4.5 minutes in, someone comes in, an animated character comes in and teaches the kids how to commit suicide.
Oh my God.
And this kind of stems from what was known as, I think late 2017, early 2018, called Elsa Gate. At least a couple of YouTubers were calling it that. And basically, it was a bunch of YouTube channels would have characters dressed up as like Spider-Man, Elsa, Superman, and they would do a lot of adult content stuff. Yeah. But because it had Elsa and Spider-Man in it, it would be put automatically in YouTube Kids.
Right.
And YouTube did nothing. But when other YouTubers started reporting, hey YouTube, look at what these channels are doing, the people got clean. The channels, let's say YouTuber X, Geeky Nerds. I don't know if there was a channel called Geeky Nerds, but if there is, I do apologize for using your name. It's just an example. Geeky Nerds would come out and say, hey YouTube, look at what these channels are doing. They should not be doing this. This violates your terms and conditions and community standards. What the hell is going on? And what YouTube would do is they would community strike Geeks and Nerds, but not the channel that they were reporting about.
Right.
And which hurts a lot of those channels that are trying to do good for the channel and not ensue another adpocalypse, or have other major sites saying, hey, look at what YouTube's allowing to happen on that platform and they're doing nothing about it. And again, this is what YouTube tends to go, oh, we don't know what's going on. How did this get here? And everybody on YouTube is like, we've been bitching about it for God knows how long, yet you yell at us for talking about it, and yet you don't want to do nothing about it.
Right.
And I think Twitter's the same way. It's like, you want to, granted, we're just users on your platform, but we're here to talk, ensue a discussion, and yet you don't want us to do that unless we're talking about the same stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, we have to agree with them, or we're not allowed to use their platform.
That platform, right?
So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's time for a new platform in a lot of ways, from like YouTube and all that stuff. I mean, I think YouTube has a right to exist. And I think it has a place because a lot of people use it, but I think that there needs to be something that's a little bit less restrictive on speech, or something, some kind of alternative to where people can go and say what the things they want to say. Irregardless of like consequence. Like everybody has consequence for their words and actions, but let that be up to the people who disagree, not with the people who want to watch that content. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of YouTubers had this discussion before, and they bring up like, yeah, there's Daily Motion, yes, there's Vimeo, but they're not as big and as much of a juggernaut as YouTube is. The only closest competitors to YouTube is Twitch and Facebook, and yet they're kind of doing something similar to what YouTube is doing.
Well, Facebook just banned our boy Daniel Benoit. You can ask him all about that when you talk to him. He's not allowed to post on other people's posts or something for a certain period of time. And
I'll write that down.
For content that he put up that was just maybe I think it was political in nature and probably right wing. It doesn't go with Facebook's policies or some shit. So he got his stuff taken down too.
Okay. As always, I'm just writing this down so I remember it to ask him about it. And I'm just gonna put basic as here. Plus.
Well, that was the other thing that they were afraid of, because I think YouTube and Facebook were taking down questionable stuff, like they were taking down conspiracy pages.
They're not taking down conspiracy stuff, but they're kind of not promoting it, which means if like I watch,
there was UFO pages that got straight up taken down for violation of content on YouTube.
From what I heard, because we both watched the channel, Secure Team 10, they're not. He could get 100,000 likes on his video. It will never hit the recommendation list, the front page. Never. Because of the new conspiracy theory policy. Along with flat Earth videos, I think because I watch them and they're entertaining and they're factual because they're anti-flat Earth theories. They do hard science and they explain it with to idiots like myself who do not understand the math but agree with their points and their science. Greater Sapien, Simon Dan, Secure Team 10, Team Skeptic. They're all great anti-flat Earth channels. They're very scientific, and as per proving the globe Earth, they do a very good job on it, and they're very knowledgeable, and they make it easy for idiots like myself to understand the math.
Right.
So,
and the thing is, like, I don't agree with flat Earth people at all, but I'll defend their right to be crazy with my dying breath. Because that's you have to have that kind of discourse.
Right.
You have to be able to discuss things. Otherwise, you never learn.
Right, and hopefully, one of the other things I want to, I'll add to this because we're kind of talking about, I got to get back with this particular person in regards to making an attempt on doing a crossover with her because she tries to talk about geek stuff in regards to how it. At least she had a geeky person in regards to on talking about cyberbullying and all this, that, and the other thing. And I want to hear a couple other of her shows. Just that the person, when I stated that I'm a geeky podcast, I don't know what I could offer your show as a guest. And I said I don't mean that in a bad way. She recommended 2 of her episodes, which she had someone who does a geeky show or geek related show. And just a lot of the stuff he was talking about in regards to Gamergate was wrong. Meaning that he said it all stemmed from Anna Sarkeesian. Even though she was part of it, it did not stem from her. he claimed that the YouTube shutdown that happened back in November was due to hackers. That was not true. It was a new security protocol that they installed, and it kind of crashed and burnt due to something. This couple of settings were not right, and it just crashed, and that's why it was down for 2 hours. Not hackers. A hacking group did lay claim to it, but it was a fake hacking group, and if you didn't know that, you kind of believed it. So, and it's like, if I'm on her show, it's like, these are the things that I heard your past show, they were wrong. Yeah, yes, there were certain aspects that he said were correct, but overall, the information is wrong. And and one of the things that he kind of reiterated was like, yeah, gamers are pretty much adult, for the most part, adults in their parents' basement. I consider myself a casual gamer. I have my own home. No, really? Yeah, and it's like even though he's a guest, he's perpetuating a stereotype.
Yeah.
So, and this is the main thing that even this show. That's why I put out the one photo on our Instagram. It's like, your family here. It doesn't matter. It's like, I want to at least try to give factual information out there, and if I'm wrong, that's why I invite you, dear listener, to email us or message us on either Facebook or email us at longcoatmafia@gmail.com and include whatever corrections I need to talk about. And it's a discussion, and that's the part of it. I've told it here on the show before. Do I bullshit sometimes? Yes. Yes, I do. Why? Because I want you, dear listener, to call me out on it. Call me out on my bullshit sometimes. I might be wrong. And
it's an open challenge.
Right. And have I been called out before? Not necessarily on my bullshit, but Bernie called me out. The reason why I say that is because I made fun of My Little Pony and their fan base. And what did that guy do? Bernie's probably laughing at this right now. What did Bern do? He went out and got me a Dungeons and Dragons type book based on My Little Pony and gave it to me as a gift. He called me out on my bullshit, and I'm happy he did. And that was one of the things that one of the Twitter people I follow said, what was the best gift that you got at a show that someone is giving you? And I said, well, I called somebody out in regards to how I kept making fun of My Little Pony and his fan base, and one of my guests bought me a My Little Pony Dungeons and Dragons type book and gave it to me as a gift. He sold me back. No harm, no foul. I laughed my ass off because I thought it was the coolest and funniest thing ever, and I mean that. And that's what was I trolled? Yes. Did I care? No. I thought it was hysterical. So did Bernie. So did he. And I don't mind that. I don't. If Dobbs did it, if Randy did it, if you did it, I don't care. Especially if it's funny. That I expect. You're my co-host. I expect you to call me out of my bullshit. Period. Most of the time, and that's what you're basically here to do. I'll say here to do. Call me out on my bullshit some days. And some days I'm like, wait a minute, you agree with me on my bullshit? How dare you?
That was all bullshit. I can't believe you agree with that bullshit.
And that's like, that particular Facebook post is like, I might be onto this here bullshit. I was bullshitting for the past 20 minutes. I might be onto something here. And I know we kind of...
Yeah, that was all I really wanted to say about that. Like, the subject matter that they got into and why Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are fighting is funny. I don't think any of it's true, but I think... I'm interested to see what Joe Rogan has to say about what Alex Jones said about going to war. So, also question, if it was Alex Jones versus Joe Rogan, you name the stipulations, you name the the arena. Who do you think would win?
In what? In a debate?
No, in a fight.
In a fight? Oh dear God! My money's on Joe Rogan. Hands down. Joe Rogan.
So, all right. So what? Like, does Alex have weapons? Is he allowed? Is it just like man on man? Is it like what's the arena? Are they in a ring, in a cage? What's going on?
I want to say Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Joe Rogan. Now, is Joe Rogan being? He can fight.
Right.
Is he allowed to strike with his fists and feet, or is he limited?
He's allowed to use both his hands. Both combatants, both him and Alex, are allowed to use hands and feet.
Okay.
Under the stipulate, the only weapon that Joe is allowed to use is a steel chair, providing and only providing Alex Jones can provide a small army of gay frogs.
So he can use his atrazine, gay frogs, and Joe can use a steel chair, and then, so who wins that one? Joe or the atrazine frogs and Alex Jones?
I don't know, but it'll be the funniest damn match to watch.
Right? Do you think, in serious terms, do you think that UFC would ever try to promote anything like this?
I seriously doubt it. But
like a grudge match type of thing?
But because YouTube, it's been happening a lot with boxing on YouTube. I'd swear to God, I'll probably watch it on YouTube or Twitch.
See, the thing is, I want you to watch the Alex Jones videos from the last week of him talking about Joe Rogan. I want you to see what I'm talking about, because it's not like, oh, Joe Rogan, I don't like you. It's like he's seething. He's like mad. He's like calling on the power of Jesus. It's hilarious. It's oh my God, it's hilarious.
Wow.
He points to the sky and says, Jesus Christ told me to come and destroy you.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
That almost sounds like Tila Tequila level crazy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Wow.
That's all I got, sir.
Then back to almost a serious note. The prelim reviews have come out for, even though I want to see it on this upcoming weekend, it's Battle Angel Alita. I know we kind of touched on all the geeky aspects of it and kind of touched briefly on it earlier in the show.
Right.
The reviews have been not good for the most part.
Did you think that they would be? Honestly.
Personally, I didn't think they would, because it's a lot of the major outlets that are saying that, oh, it's not good. But my thought process is that this is, one, a very obscure manga. Very obscure. That's number one. Number two, it's an even obscure anime, because it was only down to the anime was only 2 episodes long.
Right.
And that was it. Right. And some of the people, most of the reviews so far have been mixed, and a lot of the people who are, I guess, familiar with the anime and got the chance to see it early have been favorable to it, saying that it's maybe 8 out of 10 with the comic original manga. It's been a long time since I read the original manga, but it looks like it covers the first 2 volumes. So I want to see it. I'll probably have to finagle $5 and go up to Berkeley Theater and watch like a matinee showing, because that's $5. So
right.
And I probably won't have enough for like popcorn and a drink, but I'll try to at least finagle $2 for a drink, and that way I can enjoy the movie. It looks, if you even haven't seen it, I've seen a lot of the previews. if you want to talk about strong women in film, even though it's supposed to be anime based, you gotta figure Alita is a female character.
Right.
Period. Droid, cyborg or not, she is a female character that kicks fucking ass. What?
I'm hoping that they do a good job with it, but like I said, I'm not expecting it to be highly reviewed. But then again, the nature of things anymore is everyone says it sucks. It comes out on home video and everybody loves it.
Right.
So, and who cares? Who cares what they say?
Right.
Eventually, critics are all going to lose their jobs because they can't make up their mind what they like and what they don't like.
Okay, rapid fire round. Okay. One. Denai Goraya. Fuck you. I'm going to mispronounce her name, and I don't give a shit. A.K.A. Michonne from The Walking Dead is leaving in season 10. I think that's next season. From what I read in the article, she just wants to leave. I think it's because she has a lot of other promising projects with the MCU and other stuff. Even though the folks at Walking Dead they want her there.
Right.
I think this is pretty much, even though she has good for her finding great roles out there other than Walking Dead, but it's good that she's branching out and being successful. I'm going to say that. It's just that it to me it shows that Walking Dead is kind of seen better days.
Right.
Now granted, the comic book is more so the same, that popular characters and characters that should be mainstays have been known to leave or be killed off. But
right.
With recent years in reference to what AMC has done with its mainstays in regards to holding profits and profit sharing, and because of one BS or another, let people go because they voiced their concerns, and I'm not surprised that people are just like, I'm going to cut my losses now and I'm going to leave. I had my time. I'm out. So, you know what? Good. If she wants to do this and she's got good prospects, let her. I'm happy about it. Next up, the Chucky trailer was dropped. And I saw on one of the Twitter stories that Jennifer Tilly saw the trailer and pretty much started the hashtag "Not My Chucky."
Oh.
She hated. Pretty much from what I saw, it's not a demonic doll.
Right.
It's a doll that think like a short circuit type of deal. It's not demon. It's just a doll that goes on the fritz.
Oh my God. No.
That's pretty much it.
No.
That's what's getting a lot of people pissed.
With that really decent sequel to Child's Play, what was it, last year or 2 years ago, and it looked like it was going to continue on from there. And they had a story, but I guess that's not going to happen now.
For all I know, it might actually happen, but this is, I guess, them trying to, the main studio trying to do a reboot.
Yeah, no.
But
this is the problem with these reboots, man. It's like the original property is fine. Just, you really don't need to do anything to it. Just make a movie.
Right.
And this is what I was talking about. I think it was the last time I was actually in studio with you, or maybe a time before that, where like I'm fortunate enough to have seen a lot of the stuff that you and I liked when we were younger come up into the mainstream and really make ripples later in life. Like being from comic books to horror movies to, a lot of stuff like that. It really came up, and like people, it was more widespread than it ever was, because that was really a niche market back when we were kids. You know, all the comic books and the horror movies and stuff, and those characters and stuff. That was really for like more or less outsiders. The popular opinion, people weren't watching that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, more mainstream audiences weren't watching that stuff. It was really like niche people watching sci-fi and horror and stuff like that. But like now, it's commonplace. It's become popular. It's a lot of people are watching it, and I think the art is suffering because now they want to take those properties and do reboots, just like with the Ghostbusters. Well, they didn't reboot the story; they just rebooted all the times with it. Like, in other words, we didn't get a Ghostbuster movie; we got a feminist Ghostbuster movie. We didn't get a new Child's Play. We got a new, an updated. Oh, it's supposed to make sense now, Chucky, or some shit. It's just like they took all the fun out of it. They took all the fun out of the damn movies and replaced it with
a dumbed down PG-13 movie.
Yeah, a digestible, awful stuff. Like they just like we can sell this to all kinds of audiences. They're not thinking about the story itself. They're not thinking about the fans. All they're thinking about is how widespread they could possibly get it. And that's the problem with a lot of this garbage, is that, like, this is why I say a lot of people are going to start getting sick of superhero movies. Because there's so much of that content out there now, and it's so mainstream that I see people getting away from it. I see people who've been into it who are really glad to see it finally on the big screen and stuff. It's just like, we were talking about Battle Angel Alita. Like you said, it was a very underground almost story, and somebody picked up that property and made a movie. Now the critics hate it. Well, 20 years ago, if that movie would have came out, oh my God, people would have flipped shit. But it's so commonplace now. It's so mainstream. It's so watered down and so digestible that you can have a cool movie like that come along and people just throw it away because we've seen it. We don't care. And that's the culture that we live in. It's all been seen.
It's not just that. It's just that, okay, here's the technology's now out right now to make something like Battle Angel feasible and plausible and doable. Right. And if it was back in 2009, 2010, then people would have been stoked out of their brains. Because even though Avatar wasn't the great movie, people were still kind of stoked out of their minds because it was a beautiful movie.
Right.
And they would have been stoked out of their minds because here's a obscure something that is not Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Captain America, or stuff that's been constantly rehashed.
Right.
And therefore they would have been like, yeah, this is what we need. Now, granted, this is the type of movie that we need, but because nobody knows about it, it's, as you said, meh, it's not the best. It's not.
Here's the thing. When it's done right, though, when people care about storylines and they care about movies and they care about characters and they go out with the intention of making a movie like we love, you get something like Guardians of the Galaxy. Which, what happened with that? That took everybody by storm. It caught people off guard. Who the fuck are the Guardians of the Galaxy? It's not Captain America. It's not Iron Man. It's not Superman. It's not Batman. Who the fuck are these jokers? What kind of... And nobody had good expectations for that movie at all. In fact, I remember the reviews of people making fun of it.
But how much you want to bet? How much you want to bet? When it came out, the majority, I'm not just talking about the comic book geeks, I'm talking about the majority of people that went to see it, so just went on the premise, despite the reviews, went on the premise to see it because Marvel, that's it. Marvel. And that's what they were banking on. It's a Marvel movie. That's what and they were shocked that this Marvel movie is as good as Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, etc., etc., etc. Same thing with Ant-Man.
To me, it stands alone.
Right.
Like the first one and even the sequel stand alone. Oh, well, that along with Thor Ragnarok because it was so different. They stand alone as great movies because of how different and how like the character development in those movies was. Like, I don't think people quite understand like how great, those as modern action popcorn flicks they really are. Like those are the movies that you're going to be talking about years down the road when you're like, talking about like the movies like we do, like Friday the 13th and all the stuff that we watched when we were younger. That's the great movies you're going to look back on. Not all this garbage that they're putting out that's forgettable, but at the same time, like, there's so much stuff coming out. The critics don't have a choice but to meh at it because everybody's seen it, and it's really sad because they're kind of destroying the culture along with.
No, I want to say this. I want to have to disagree with you on this. I want to say that meh-ing Battle Angel is because, again, it's obscure. No one knows about it. It's not a Ghost in the Shell that they could die hard if it doesn't go right, bitch about it or push it up to the heavens. It's not a Death Note where they could either bitch about it or push it up to the heavens. It's not a Full Metal Alchemist. It's not a Dragon Ball where they could bitch about it or boost it up to the heavens. It's something that's extremely obscure that they could go, meh, ignore it, I hate it. It's not something they love, which also proves the anime culture in a way, whereas, if we don't know it, forget about it. We're going to just bash it, and if you go see it, you're an idiot, and you're, for seeing this sucky little anime that nobody really knows about. Because you're not watching Dragon Ball Z, you're not watching Full Metal Alchemist, you're not watching Death Note, you're not watching, Naruto, or you're not watching the latest Pokemon movie. You're watching this Battle Angel movie. Well, what is it? It's just a crappy little thing based on a crappy little unknown manga. Really?
Right.
Oh, it's not Titanfall? We don't want to know about it. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I see what you're saying, though. No, it's for real. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like the mainstream culture is, because of stuff precisely what you're talking about, the maying of movies, despite their content, I think that's what's going to ruin the culture itself. I think that's what's going to end up making people sick of it. I think that's what's going to end up making people go away from it, and it's like it's gonna kill like the industries like comic books and stuff like that. Like, it's gonna turn a lot of people off from it. You know what I mean? Because like our culture loves to throw shit away. And when people are done with shit, they're done with shit. And yes, it goes back into the hands of people like us, and we're like, yay, we got our culture back, but it never springs back. Like, look at Marvel Comics and all the people that they fired, and DC Comics and all the people that they fired like recently. And,
due to lack of sales.
And all the layoffs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because they got 8 million people working on 8 million books, but nobody's reading them.
Right.
Because more people are interested in the movies right now, and then when that dies out, the industry dies.
And the thing is, and I want to say you're somewhat right in regards to that, meaning that the people that are putting out these books, whether it be Marvel or DC, they're running the books to the ground,
right,
for whatever reasons, either personal or they want to tick off a box whatever that box relates to, and they're pushing fans away to more of an independent Kickstarter-based system, or they're pushing them to, we would rather stick with the movies. And when they figure, like Marvel or DC, hey, the fans are not reading the books, they're going to the movies, let's do what we're doing with the books with the movies. And as soon as they do that, the fans are going to say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. As you stated, they're going to vote with their wallets and kind of go away. And once that happens, both systems are going to start to die out. And that's why you're probably seeing right now folks like even Van Sciver and Bill Tucci and God knows how many other artists and writers going through Kickstarter that want to either A, save their income, or realize, hey, I better start making my own stuff now.
Right.
To save that way when the ship sinks, I have a fan base following what I do.
Well, I mean, look at Marvel Comics, for instance. Like, how desperate they are for ideas. Because they've got, like, characters stretched across 15 different books. Like, they grasp at straws. Like, they killed off Wolverine a couple years ago. And then because of sales really plummeting after that, they brought him back. It's like, man, you guys are really terrible. It's like, you know, you can't stay consistent with anything. It's all about money with you. Like, they can't tell a story anymore.
Right.
It's disgusting. It's like, this is what, like, mainstream culture has done to comics, and it's, you know, going to do the same thing to movies, too. It's just like the art is going to suffer because of money.
Right.
I mean, like, I went to the comic book shop the other day. I had some books that I had bought at Books A Million. It was like everything there was like $1 because they were trying to get rid of their comic books. Like, no bullshit. They got all their graphic novels, but all their individual, like, monthly issues are all $1 and have been since before Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah. So I bought, like, probably $20 worth of stuff, and this was, like, before Christmas. I just forgot about it. I had it in the bag, and I was like, oh, I need to go get bags and boards for it. So I went in there the other day. I think it was Tuesday. And picked up, you know, my bags and boards. And I was looking around the shop, and I looked at, like, the X titles and, like, Captain America, all those books. And I keep up with, like, the weekly, what's coming out this week, what's coming out next week. And it's like you've got all these characters' books stretched across all these different titles with all these different, like, interweaving stories that, like, you have to buy all these issues for. And then, like, you know, it looks like they're putting out, like, each company is putting out 15-plus books a week, it looks like. And how are fans supposed to keep up with any of that? You know, I don't understand it personally. If they would just shrink down and put out, like, a certain amount of stuff, like 10 books a month, and, like, you know, really focus on the stories and the artwork, because the artwork sucks now. Personally, I can't stand it. Most of it's drawn on computers, you can tell. The artists are taking severe shortcuts to meet deadlines, and it just looks like shit. Like, I mean, honestly, looks like shit. But, like, how, like, fans are supposed to keep up with this how? At $3.99, $4.99 a book? And, like,
right.
You know, then you hear they're laying off writers, they're laying off artists, they're laying off all these people at these big comic book companies. Why? Because they got so many people working on stuff, but none of the books are selling like they should. And then you got all the variant stuff. They're trying, like, they're trying to do the shit that, like, baseball cards does. They're trying to sell variants, and they're trying to sell, like, these weird, you know, one-off books and stuff. And it's just like, you know, this is what mainstream does to, you know, our little comic book, you know, hobby. Our little, you know, the little passion that we had. It's ruined. And it's the same thing with movies, and that's when I see stuff like Battle Angel Alita, that's what I think about. It's like, that you've liked that for as long as I've known you, and that's honest. Like, I remember you reading the manga when we first, like, started talking. And,
yeah, it's basically what got me back into comics.
Right. So I know for a fact that you've been a fan of this, like, for a long, long time. You're not, like, on the bandwagon. And you're somebody that stuff is for, like, but they bring it to the forefront, and I don't know what the studios expect is going to happen. Do they think they're going to throw it out there and start a whole generation of people who love this stuff, or like are they pandering? I don't understand. Like they got to know that shit like that's going to get bad reviews because nobody's heard of it.
That's what I want to give credit where credit's due.
Okay.
That is what's his first name? What's Rodriguez's first name?
Robert
Rodriguez and James Cameron. James Cameron was tagged on this title back when I was working for Kohl's.
Okay.
That's how far back I heard about this. That his name was tied to this movie. So we're talking maybe about 2000. This was before my mom got the divorce. So at least 2002, I knew about this. And it's taken this long for technology to come to pass for this movie to take place. And you had Robert Rodriguez. You have two people that want to tell a story.
Right.
And Robert Rodriguez is the geek here. He's able to tell a story, and that's what he wants. To hell with, what the critics say.
Well, yeah, and I know I sound like I'm being critical of the movie, but, like, at the same time, like, I'm not. I want all the best stuff for the movie. I want the movie to come out and it be a raving friggin' success despite what the critics think. But what I'm most upset at is, like, it just reminds me more of, like, what goes on with mainstream culture versus the things that we love.
Right, and that's a lot of the problem. To kind of tie things in, I was debating to talk about it, but one of the things that happened that I want to talk to you about it, even though it happened a couple of weeks ago, despite the other controversy that's been happening with another voice actor in the show, what happened earlier this month. I want to say, no, it happened about a month ago. The fact of the matter is that a Twitter user, now, after all this came out, they think it was a bot or someone with a fake account or something like that. Someone came up stating that, how Dragon Ball is a sexist show and it degrades women and so forth.
Oh my God, yeah, I saw that.
And the voice actress behind one of the characters pretty much chewed her out. And let's see here. Let's go to the next page because there's 3. I forgot because I've been holding on to this to. Screw you, you fucking advert. The person who voices one of the female characters pretty much said.
Bulma. It was the actress for Bulma.
Yes. She came out and said, "Oh, honey, have you ever watched Dragon Ball or any anime for that matter? Japan has been creating strong female characters long before it ever became popular here. I would know. I happen to be the voice of one of those strong women in that quote-unquote sexist show." And pretty much the person that called her out pretty much responded after that, said, "Let's not forget the show promotes pedophilia," in which Monica pretty much said, "Okay, you're either a bot or a troll. By the way, feminist, the plural form of the word, you are one person, hence you are a feminist. But if you were truly a feminist, you would understand it's about equality, not being better than or wanting to rid the world of men." Pretty much she just owns this person. And now that we kind of covered it, I mean, good for this person. And that's the true thing about anime. It's like, there's been, since then and prior, there've been other people, it's a cartoon from Japan. For number one, because there are people come out in regards to certain shows that have been airing on Crunchyroll or one of the many anime networks here in the States, saying, "Well, look at what this show's been doing, or what this show it's a show." You realize Japan is a different culture than America, right? And a lot of times, and not only in Japan, they show a lot of strong female characters, like the person stated. They're going to have weird, fucked up shit.
Right.
And if you don't know this by now...
That's the thing about people. Like, in America, they think everything is like America. And truth be it known, not a lot of places are like America.
How many times on our show we've covered somebody that's like that, like there was that one girl, I think early last year, that wore a traditional Chinese dress to her prom because she got it on the cheap, and everybody said, "Oh, you're culturally appropriating Chinese culture," and people from China were pretty much like, "No, she's wearing it correctly. We're not offended at all."
Yeah, we love the exposure. Keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
As far as like anything sexualized, Japan is like, how can I say this? A lot
fucked
of
up.
countries are very loose sexually.
Right.
They're not as pent up. Like, they don't have that. What is it? The Protestant. Is it the Protestants? Like,
right.
Who is the one? The Puritans.
Puritans. One of the two.
They don't have the puritanical history that the United States does in regards to bodies and nakedness, and even in cases
not only that, it's like
things like that. They're a little bit more loose with that stuff than we are.
Yeah, not to mention when that dress, for those of you who forgot, when that dress incident happened, and I think a lot of folks in China were like, yeah, the only thing we'd bitch about if she was wearing it wrong, and she's not. And people here, the Chinese people here in the States, the Chinese Americans here in the States, yelled at the people from that country saying, "How dare you let this happen?" That's how fucked up we are here in the States.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
It's just people here don't understand the cultural differences, and they want to. They think they're doing the right thing by speaking out, and it's like, this happens not just in this case, but in a lot of cases of just people not understanding the differences in culture and like how things are perceived over there versus how things are perceived here.
Yeah, and there was another thing I saw. I think it was like a Facebook video. A guy was wearing a sombrero and a shopa. I think that's what they're called. And he was going around interviewing people. Granted, they were mostly white people. What do you think about the outfit I'm wearing? And pretty much everybody said, I think you're culturally appropriating, the Mexicans and the Spanish culture, and you're being offensive.
Then he went to the people in the Mexicans and the
town, and they were like, pretty much they were going, "We think you look stupid, but you ain't culturally appropriating.
You look good.
You look good, but are you offended by how I look? No, stupid, maybe, but."
They're like, "No, you look good." They said,
"You look good."
Traditional. A lot of them said, like, "You look traditional."
Right.
Because honestly, if you look at, like, what's that guy that Fluffy talks about in the special? Basically the Hispanic Elvis from.
Right.
They're like that guy. He looked just like who did he say? He looked like a big bottle of Tapatio from Costco.
Right. And the thing is, to me, what caught me off guard and had me rolling in front. He was talking about his bus driver.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole aspect was like, "I'm building walls," the door's closing. And they're like, we almost got offended. It's like, and you got the text message like, "And you just paid for it." I almost fell off my chair watching that. It's like, oh my God. And the thing is, it's like, here's a guy, Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias laughed about it. Because he knows it's funny. He's like, he might have been like, "Oh my God," at first. He was like, now he looked back like, that was funny ass shit.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you gotta appreciate sense of humor despite your differences and all that fun stuff. I don't know. People are a little too uptight about stuff nowadays. It's kind of weird.
To kind of continue our lightning round, let's go with news that World War Z
has been the slowest lightning ever, dude.
Right. It's just more of a lightning storm than a lightning round.
Right.
World War II World War Z's sequel, World War Z 2, has been officially canceled.
Not surprised.
Not surprised. I agree with that. And thank fucking God. And one person, I think...
Fading interest in zombie culture. That's the other one.
I think that's it. That's number one. I think that's why The Walking Dead is probably, starting to die off. People are starting to get sick of zombies.
I mean, it's run. Honestly, like, you think about it, like, 2007, 2008, that's when it really was, like, starting to go in full swing. And I think people have been zombied to death.
Not to mention, you gotta figure the book came out in... When did we go to Horrifying? 2006?
2006.
Yeah, that's when we got our preview copy of the book.
But that was before zombie culture had really caught on, though.
Right. I'm just saying that's when we got our copy of the book, right. And it wasn't until years later when I'm trying to pull up a couple of the responses of when I posted that particular article. It was, I'm not sure if it was yesterday or today. Let's try to pull it up. That's the person's. That's next. That's that, and that's that. There it is. We got two comments in regards to that, and one is the person was trying to play devil's advocate. And he said, in regards to his comment, he says, "How in the name of the hell could the first movie have even done the book? It was scattered a bunch of witnesses' accounts as opposed to an actual story." And someone, my co-worker friend, to keep kind of, even though he's been on the show, said that they could have done it basically. To kind of sum it up, an anthology. They said they could have done multiple pieces of the book in a mini story form, or done chapter by chapter in movie form. But they're just trying to churn out a quick movie and make a quick buck. And again, that's right. And as many people have said, the first one, other than a few key instances and name of the movie, that's it. There was no relation with the book.
Right.
The next thing, before we go into it, both of them kind of relate to each other, because I haven't heard any new information. I hope he is okay. The Kingpin himself, Ozzy Osbourne, was hospital. I'll say was, because he might be getting better, because I haven't heard anything otherwise. Was sent to the hospital due to the flu. I hope he's doing better. Because that's one piece of news I do not want to hear shortly. Is the Kingpin of heavy metal himself, the man that kind of helped start it all way back in the day. Hear that news.
I don't know. You keep talking about it, and you might Stan Lee him.
I did not Stan Lee.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not. If that was the case, Slacker the Man would have Stan Lee 8 years ago.
I just like the fact that you said, "I did not Stan Lee." Oh boy. Yeah, but we were talking about it like not too long before he kicked. But anyway.
That would make it a coincidence. It takes 3 to make a pattern.
Just don't Stanley Ozzy, okay?
I'm ending it. That way it's on you this time.
Right.
Next up is that Disney...
You had a good run.
Quiet! We don't want to Stanley... God damn it!
He heard news that a bat went in his room and bit his head off. At the hospital. A bat flew in there and bit his head right off.
My response would be footage or didn't happen.
Right.
Next up, Disney heard reports that Disney is allowing some rated R films like Aliens and Deadpool to remain R-rated films. I guess they'll be releasing stuff again under the Fox moniker for this. This is good news. Even though Disney does own Miramax still, I think so. Yeah. They own Miramax. It just allows them a more popular outlet, and it's when people think Aliens or the Alien franchise and at least Deadpool, they know Fox. So it's a way of keeping the brand together, so I can understand that whole aspect of things. And that's good to hear that they're not really dropping the R-rated format in regards to when Fox comes in full swing. So I guess they'll do the whole aspect. Okay, we'll distribute these movies under the Disney brand, these movies under the Fox brand, or when it comes out. So that's kind of good to hear that they're not really fucking things up too much. Hopefully,
Right.
The other thing that kind of ties into that is I saw reports that Avatar. Initially, it was going to be 4 Avatar sequels, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But recently, over the past couple of weeks, I've been hearing rumors that Disney kind of either put a halt to 4 and 5 or won't release 4 and 5. I know. I've also heard reports James Cameron pretty much filmed 2, 3, 4, Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5. He's just got to, do the Lord of the Rings type of thing, is edits and possible reshoots if needed.
Oh, okay.
Just that over the next 2 years, I think 2020 and 2021, 2 and 3 is going to come out. And that's guaranteed by Disney, is 2 and 3. I guess they want to see how those 2 movies perform before allowing 4 and 5 to proceed. Which is a good plan by Disney, for that matter. But recently...
I don't know, you think that they're going to do well, or do you think he waited too long?
Because of the... I might say they might do okay. They probably won't be as successful as the original was, but there's a chance because it's been so long. And from what I hear, that 2 and 3 are going to be, even though it's sequels, they're going to be standalone films.
Right.
So there's a chance because they're not direct sequels and are able to stand on their own, it could help those movies.
Right.
That way you don't really have to watch the first one to know exactly what's happening in the second one. And if you miss the second one, you don't have to worry about what's happening when you watch the third one.
Right.
So, and if these 2 movies do extremely well, we'll get 4 and 5.
Right.
Whether or not there'll be direct sequels to 2 and 3, we won't know until we see 2 and 3.
Right.
And heck, back when Force Awakens was out, I would have loved to see Avatar go toe-to-toe with Star Wars and see how the successful Star Wars trilogy would battle against the has-been movies. Now the way Star Wars has been behaving, and how Star Wars has been behaving, and the fan outcry and disappointment, Avatar might have a chance.
Yeah.
Sadly, it might have a chance.
I did finally watch Solo. It came on Netflix recently.
And what did you think?
I liked it. I thought it was like, of the new Star Wars films, I thought it was the best one. Besides Rogue One.
Right. It was definitely it wasn't the best. It was, like I said, it was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was way better than The Last Jedi.
Oh my God! I don't even want to mention those in the same category. Jesus. No, I thought the performances were really good. I thought that the story was solid. I thought there was a lot of good callbacks in there, especially the little surprise at the end. I was like, holy shit! They actually listened to the fans. It looks like. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I want to spoil it. It's still kind of new.
No one's seen it. No one gives a shit. You can spoil it all you want.
Right. Spoilers ahoy! with the little scene with Darth Maul at the end, and the fact that he has little robot legs. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good little callback.
That's a callback. Yeah, that's a callback to I think not so much Rebels, but
the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that little scene that they did. So, I thought that was cool. So, will we get a story from that? Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't foresee them doing a Darth Maul movie, but it'd be nice if they did something like that.
Yeah, but then again, since they kind of shelved all the branching Star Wars movies, like Solo.
Why? It's because of the backlash against Last Jedi.
Right.
And that's see, here's the thing. And I don't want to get on a Star Wars tear because I could go for hours. But when they did...
Go ahead, record it. I'll post it up.
When they did...
You know I will, for trolls and giggles. Hey, you know I'll post it up. 4-hour rant from Big Candy.
Force Awakens could have been the beginning of something good. Okay? They started off, I think, in the right direction. I didn't 100% love the movie, but I thought it was good. What they did in Last Jedi was the equivalent of somebody just taking a dump in your mouth while you're asleep. Like, it was horrible. Like, it actually ruined the entire saga. To me. I don't know about you, but to me, it ruined the entire saga.
Okay, modern is to get your mind distracted. Let's see. Let's hear what the working title is for the new Transformer movie. Not Transformer. Terminator movie. Let's see. James Cameron is calling it Terminator Dark Fate. What do you have to say about that?
Terminator Dark Fate.
Right.
Who cares? That's
okay.
What I think.
And what do you think about James Cameron trying to reboot the Alien franchise?
Not surprised.
Do you think he could do it better than Ridley Scott?
Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. If what's going to throw me off on all that stuff is the fact that they can't...
Hello? What? And we got welcome from back of the lot. We're back on air. Welcome back to Coast to Coast. I am your temporary host from the internet's most hated mafia-themed geek podcast.
I'll figure this out in a second.
I had to go there with that one. Hear me. Welcome back on the air. Where's George when you need one? Where's Spike when you need him? Oh man. Sorry for that. It's like Big Candy's having a few more problems with his Bluetooth connection in his vehicle. But it is funny. Yes, we'll get on Coast to Coast for a while. And just replying to something here online. Don't want to have dead air until Big Candy does come back. Let's see here. Let's see. Unless. Oh, and he's back. He's back, folks.
We didn't mention that I was doing this from the car, did we?
No, but I'm going with the whole coast to coast call in aspect, and when the music played, I had to say, "Welcome back."
Yeah, right. Wait. So you heard the music playing?
Yeah, I heard the music playing. I had to go. We're back. Welcome back to Coast to Coast. Yeah.
That is weird. Yeah, all of a sudden, I was talking to you, and all of a sudden, it went from the hands-free and just turned the radio on for no reason. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I was saving it for the end of the show. So, where I'm sitting is outside of my wife's mother's house. I'm not even going to get into the story why I'm sitting in front of my wife's mother's house. But she lives across the street from a graveyard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the entire time I've been sitting here, the car is parked facing the graveyard. On 2 instances just recently, I have seen what would be called black masses go in front of the graves. Behind, now there's a wrought iron fence on my side, and behind it you can see there's white and gray graves, right? I've seen black masses walk in front of those, and like you say, oh well, it's shadows from people walking down the street or it's cars driving by. No, it's not. There's like literally nothing going on when I'm seeing this. And like there's the road that faces the graveyard. There's nobody behind me coming up in a car because I can see, there's in my rearview mirror and in my side mirrors. There's nobody driving down the street. Nobody driving on that main road. And I saw something twice go in front of the graves. So either there's a large bear over there that's like I can't see everything, or like I saw a black mass twice.
So
just to keep it interesting.
I think we pretty much covered everything anyway. So I'm tapped out, and comicbook.com has nothing else to cover. I'm tapped out. I don't know what to say.
Hey, listen, we covered a lot of ground tonight.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. Holy shit.
Started with Bigfoot, ended on black masses. God damn.
And I must ask, was that an Ozzy reference?
No, I saw a damn weird thing.
Been watching too much Omar from the Missus.
No, see, I'm not one of those people that do that stuff. I'm not like, oh, what was that? Oh, you know me. I don't give a shit. I could probably go in a house that actually is haunted and be like, hey, ghost, what's up? I don't get excited. I just don't. That shit, like, what's a ghost gonna do to you, honestly? So, I'm sitting here looking. I can see with my own eyes, they're like, there's white graves, and something walked in front of it like twice. And it was like pitch black. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm not there. I can't really tell.
Well, take my word for it. Black man.
Fine, take your word for it. We started with the normal, went weird, and we went normal, then we came back again.
Well, no, we do have bears that sometimes go in the cemetery over here. Have you heard about that?
No. I know where you dropped me off, where I'm at.
Right.
I know for a fact I've had groundhog live on my property. That's confirmed. I've seen that little bat, even though I haven't seen him over the past 2 years, but I've seen him when I first moved in here almost daily. Since then, I saw a raccoon. I've seen squirrels. Then there's Hazel, the rabbit that has taken up occupancy in the holes that the groundhog has made. Right. Yes, I named the wild rabbit Hazel, and it is a Watership Down reference. I know there's been an owl roaming around or flying around because I've heard it take up residence near my home. Even though I think he was bullshitting me, my neighbor quote unquote claimed that there was a mountain lion in the area, but I think that was completely bullshit.
Could be. I see. The thing is, with where I live,
but
and you know Winchester. You've been here,
right?
Like, yes, it is a city. It's not a big city, but it is literally surrounded by deep woods.
Right.
Like, not like, oh my God, picking and grinning, we're gonna fuck you in the butt deep woods, but like, right? It's like wilderness enough that there's like bear and deer and like, wild turkeys and stuff.
That's what I was about to say. It's like when we had
we do have mountain cats that come down, like bobcats and mountain cats and stuff.
But I've had
your neighbor said that. Like, I'm not surprised, but
I haven't confirmed that personally, so that's why I thought it was bullshit. But when we had the snow here in the area, I think last week, when I left for work, I saw a deer track, several deer track.
Right.
So I was like, wait a minute, there's deer that walk in this area by my house? I never knew. I've heard cats. I've heard
deer everywhere around here. Here's the funny thing. Like this, I could go right there right now and take a picture of deer. There's where my buddy Mike lives. It's in town. Like it's 2 blocks up from the library. You know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you go on Amherst Street, like towards Amherst Diner, there's a little side street over there, and it dead ends in a wooded area. And I shit you not, at any time of day, midday, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever you want to do, if you drive over there, there's probably a 90% chance you'll see like a couple of deer just strolling around.
Oh, I've seen where I work.
They're always there, and it's in the city.
Where I work at, I've seen flocks. Even though right now it's mainly geese that are Canadian geese that are taking up residence of the area, but in past years I've seen flocks of wild turkey wander around.
Right.
I know about a week ago I saw I want to say a small herd because I've seen when I lived in Pennsylvania, I've seen literally hundreds of deers gathered in a field. So this was a small herd of maybe about 12, 13 deer just wander right by between where I worked and the business in front of where I worked, while I was waiting for the bus. And it was like, 1, 2.
Well, the whole reason why I said bear is because bear have been known to come down here and chase cars. Like when I was younger and we were in school, it wasn't like because I didn't ride the bus. My dad took me to school, but like the bus that would have been my bus coming down National Avenue, apparently a bear got loose or was somewhere around over there and was chasing the school bus down the road. But recently, as of last year, there were a family of 3 bears, a mom and 2 cubs, that had gotten into the city and were roaming around at night. And apparently they got into the cemetery. And for like 3 days, they were in the cemetery, climbing the trees and like rubbing their butts on the trees. And people were just lined up on the side of the road trying to get a glimpse of these bears and taking pictures of these bears and shit running around the cemetery. And like, I don't know what they did to get them out or anything. I think they left them alone for a while. But yeah, they were just in there and like running around doing bear stuff. And that cemetery is right next to like where my wife's mom's house is.
So it could be anything. I don't want to say that until I see. So I want to say that's it. That's all I got. I'm sure that's all Big Candy's got for now. I know I don't like him traveling. I gotta work out with my new schedule. I'll let you folks at home know. I'm more than happy to open the door in reference to what we do behind the scenes. Is that I don't like when, because of Big Candy having a family, I don't like him traveling. I wouldn't, even if he didn't have a family, I wouldn't like him traveling up this way in the winter with the snow and all that, because I want him to be safe. And at least this time to go home to his wife and kid and be a part of their lives. But I may have to, one of these days, schedule an in-studio type of thing with you, and talk. That way it's in person, and I know you have.
I want to come up sometime. Just like you said, with. Money's been an issue with us lately. That's why what happened like with the Super Bowl thing last week. I really, really wanted to come up, but it just didn't happen because like all the stuff that we have had to put out money for lately, it's been really bad.
I know if I had a few extra bucks, I would have went, fuck it, come on up, I'll spring for your food. So I would have done that too.
Oh,
so,
for sure. Hey, I the one thing like. We wouldn't have had much to talk about. That was a shitty Super Bowl, I tell you.
Right. I'm sure you heard my rant about it in reference to it.
Oh, for sure, and I totally 100% agree with everything you said. Because, like, the lackluster ads, oh my god. Like, I saw better ads, like, you know, I don't know, a couple of years ago for other stuff. It's been getting worse and worse. And, like, the halftime show, like, what can I say? It was so, like, out of touch with what football fans want to see. What football fans are watching that they want to see Adam Levine shaking his ass and taking his shirt off? I mean, seriously? Like, what are they thinking? What is Roger Goodell thinking? Like, fucking seriously, dude, get Metallica out there or something. You know what I mean? Like, put out something like football, tough, you know?
Yeah, Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie, hell yeah. Put on a good fucking show for people. But why are they putting out these little fancy pants douchebag dudes? Like, nobody wants to see that shit.
And it's like,
That shit.
it was just, it wasn't even a game. It was like,
Man, the game was terrible too. The game was bad.
and the thing is, I watch, again, I'm name dropping what I watch on YouTube. The channel is called After Prison Show, and the guy, I want to say this, my heart is with him in regards to what happened recent with him. I'll mention it here because he put it out on YouTube. Pretty much earlier in his life of stupid decisions, has made an effect on his later year that without the help of in vitro fertilization, he wouldn't have been able to have a child. His wife wouldn't be able to have a child.
Right.
And so they went through the process of in vitro fertilization end of last year. They were notified in December that was officially pregnant with child, and we're talking about someone who's was doing bad and has come out the other side with the mentality, I want to do good, I'm doing good, I'm helping others, and he's successfully done that. And the people that he's surrounding himself with would have been the oddest and yet most supportive uncles to his child that child would have ever been. And I do recommend the channel, and he found out like early this month, late last month, that his wife became stillborn.
Oh no.
And he was, again, you could tell he was looking forward to having, being a father.
Well, of course.
And not only that, the one person that he helped that was a 40-year veteran of federal prison.
Ugh.
And we're talking someone who, at that time, learned the better of his way, learned to be better, and with the help with the show, became friends with the guy who runs the channel, and, always happy to be on, and he'd been one hell of an uncle for this child. And he was like, I understand, again, he had a great support system, like, listen, we're all here for you, we're sad to hear, he gave, the guy who runs the channel a hug, like, I'm here for you, I understand, it was a touching episode, to see it, and to hear it, I even reached out to him on Twitter, like, listen, sad to hear what happened to you, like, we stand behind you, it's like, even though there's nothing that we can do, we stand behind you. And the guy who runs it, his name is Joe Guerrero. Watch After the Prison Show. It's a fun thing. They have loads of laughs. And everything is serious as well. Funny tales from prison. Weird tales from prison. And he's rocking it. He's like, listen, I thank everybody who sent well wishes and everything to me and my wife, and and being supported, because if it wasn't for the fans of the show, I would have given up.
Right.
So again, unless That's it. Let's pull this aspect of the thing. If Big Candy doesn't have anything else to say, we can cut it off right there.
Well, I got one more thing I can talk about, but we can save it for later.
Then save it for later. Write it down because I put it with all the other year in review stuff that you might have.
I'll talk to you about it off air. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So we'll end it here. Stay tuned for the usual end of show shenanigans, and we are done, folks. Let me hit this button right here and listen.
Hit the button.
And we're back. I know it seemed like I left all of you hanging between the so and we'll be right back. Trust me, there was nothing in between there. I just wanted to have that little bit of a lead in with the we'll be right back. And that being said, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. The 3.5 hour conversation me and Big Candy had. I hope you laughed along with us in certain points. And that being said, if you want to join in the conversation or you disagreed with anything me and Big Candy said, you're more than welcome to do so by sending us an email, which is our email address is and it has always been longcoatmafia@gmail.com, or you could head on to any one of our other social media platforms and leave us a message. Our social media platforms are our Facebook is facebook.com/The Long Coat Mafia Podcast, and our Twitter handle is Long Coat Mafia, and our Instagram is also Long Coat Mafia. Now, because we kind of talked about YouTube and everything else, we do have a YouTube channel. You're more than welcome to wander over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and watch any of our videos and hit that like button. But I do recommend you do that. I hope you do. I still have to put videos up. I have some ready, willing, and able to do so. And just go over to YouTube and type in Long Coat Mafia Podcast, and our channel will come up. And as I say that, please, while you're there hitting subscribe and liking a lot of our videos when we do post up videos, you also hit that like button or aka the follow button or the subscribe button that Facebook has on our Facebook page, which is again facebook.com/The Long Coat Mafia Podcast, because the way YouTube tends to be, I might post a lot of our videos on Facebook as well. So that way you don't miss out on anything that we post up video-wise or content-wise. So please do so and follow us. And I'm usually more active at times on Twitter. So, follow us on Twitter. And if you want to see where we've been and what we're up to, and maybe a couple of funny memes I post up, follow our Instagram, which is, again, Long Coat Mafia on Instagram. Let's see, what else? Am I forgetting anything else? Yes, I have been streaming. I have been keeping that New Year's resolution, so to speak, and streaming more often on Mixer, which is Microsoft's version of Twitch. So head on to Mixer. Our channel is LCMP, and all those letters are capitalized, and I'll try to post up when we're streaming. So all you have to do is click that link and, in essence, follow the link to our channel. That seems to be out it. And special thanks again to Apex or Conspiraspot for letting us share their promo that they sent us. So that's about it. So again, I thank you for listening. Stay tuned for a lot of great things, and see you next week.
You've been listening to the Long Coat Mafia Podcast, the internet's most hated and mafia-themed geek podcast.